Welcome to the fantasy audiobook. Naruto. Medical Ninja, I have Samsara Eye at the beginning. Chapter 81. Hanzo of the Salamander chased the sand village like a mad dog, and Chio was mentally prepared for this. After all, the sand village retaliated against the rain village, and the rain village chased them in return, which was also normal. Demigods also want to save face, although his face is not worth much for the 5 major ninja villages. But the villages and towns of the Rain Country were plundered by the Sand Village. As the leader of the Rain Village, if he did not show any expression, how could Hanzo of the Salamander still survive in the ninja world? Not to mention whether he has the face to survive, the name of the Rain Country alone will not forgive him. The daimyo government invests so much money every year, and all parties are supporting you, Hanzo. I can understand that you can't beat the 5 major ninja villages, after all, the 2 sides are not of the same size. But the Sand Village has started to plunder the Rain Country, but you, Hanzo, dare not even fart. What's the point of my daimyo government investing in you? Whether it is for his own reputation, or for the people of the Rain Country and the daimyo of the Rain Country, Hanzo will fight with the Sand Village. If he can't beat it, he will bite off a piece of meat from the Sand Village with his teeth. Otherwise he is a sinner. The Sand Village was chased and bitten by the Rain Village led by Hanzo, and the little stubborn Wangtu refused to seek the alliance with the Rock Village. Just like this, Chio is not so angry. In this big battle war, the main force of Konoha adheres to a principle: fight other enemies if they can, and evacuate if they can't, as long as they don't lose the battlefield area occupied by the village. But the Sand Village cannot give in. They must fight them head on. You want to start a war, you are so desperate, so I will help you. A bunch of trash. After a while of cursing, Chio gradually calmed down, because she found that if this continued, the situation of the Sand Village in the Rain Country battlefield would become more and more passive. Although the Rock Village did not chase the 3 enemies, they would definitely not be soft if they met them. The Rain Village chased them like a mad dog. Konoha also stared at them. After this, the situation of the Sand Village will become more and more embarrassing. If you still keep the original rhythm, it will be fine. At worst, you can slowly fight with the Rain Village and Konoha. But the war situation can change at any time. Who can be sure that the Rock Village will not take the opportunity to join in tomorrow? Once the Rock Village, Konoha, and the Rain Village chase the Sand Village will really be ruined. In the wet bone forest, Jingyi sat cross-legged on the ground. With the continuous absorption of natural energy, coupled with the fusion of physical energy and spiritual energy, the fairy chakra was formed. Ha! The bored slug sage suddenly lowered his head and looked at Jingyi, who was motionless. Jingyi, who was sitting cross-legged on the ground to absorb natural energy, had a thin line under his eyeliner. If you don't look carefully, you might even mistake it for the eyeliner. Little Jingyi, I was right. You have a good talent. You control the fairy chakra better than most people. Even Xiaojuma may not be better than you. Jingyi seemed not to hear this. The first thing he did when he opened his eyes was to take out a mirror. In addition to some special lines on the face of people who learn fairy arts, some strange features may appear on their bodies. For example, the snake tail of the Ryachi Cave, the toad face of Myoboku Mountain. Jingyi didn't know what the iconic feature of the fairy arts of the wet bone forest was, but he didn't want to grow 2 tentacles on his head. Or the body becomes wet. Ah! Looking at himself in the mirror, Jingyi thought he was dazzled. Why hasn't it changed? Am I practicing a fake fairy art? No, I have already entered the fairy art chakra mode. Could it be that there are some strange things on my body? Jingyi panicked and quickly checked his body. The big bird is still there, so he can breathe a sigh of relief. The slug fairy didn't understand what Jingyi was doing, so he could only tilt his head suspiciously and look at him quietly. When Jingyi checked his body and confirmed that there was no problem, he slowly spoke. Little Jingyi, you are also practicing fairy arts, but people with good talents can perfectly master fairy art chakra, so there will be no special features on your body. Oh, why didn't you say it earlier? You scared me. Jingyi picked up the mirror thrown on the ground and observed it carefully. Finally, he found that his lower eyeliner was a bit heavy. If you don't pay attention, you can't see it at all, as if it was slightly drawn. I don't want to have a lot of wrinkles on my face like other people do. Quote, Slug Sage, is my control of Senjutsu chakra perfect? Jingyi raised his head and asked. Slug Sage nodded his huge head and said happily, of course, there are no special features on the body, and there are few lines on the face, which means that the control of Senjutsu chakra is perfect. When Hashirama first entered the Sage mode, he became a big clown face. Jingyi. The most obvious feature of Senju Hashirama's Sage mode is the lines around his eyes, and there is no circle between his heart. Jingyi does not have these features. Even if you practice the same place of Senjutsu, the lines on your face will be different. For example, Jiraiya and Naruto. Jiraiya's talent in Senjutsu is not as good as Naruto. If you want to enter the Senjutsu chakra mode, you need the help of the toads of Myoboku Mountain, and it will leave many strange features, such as toad face. And the lines on his face are also very strange, and there are many. Naruto is different. When he enters the Senjutsu chakra mode, he will be very happy. In the Sage mode, he only has a circle of red lines around his eyes. Not to mention the lines, after he and Jiraiya enter the Sage mode, the shape of their pupils will also change, including Minato. After all, the three of them practice the Sage arts of Myoboku Mountain. And Jingyi chose the wet bone forest. But the lines on his face are very different from those of Senju Hashirama. It's better to have fewer lines, which can confuse people and are more beautiful. Little Jingyi, your eyes are very special. I found that it is slowly absorbing the natural energy of the wet bone forest. Can you feel the consumption of Sage chakra in your body? The reincarnation eye is absorbing natural energy. Jingyi was slightly surprised. After feeling the changes in his body, he replied, it seems to be consumed very little. Quote, what is the biggest drawback of the Sage mode? That is natural energy. When you consume all the natural energy you absorb into your body, you will exit the Sage chakra mode, because people cannot absorb natural energy when they are in action or fighting. Less natural energy in the body means less Sage chakra is used, and when it is used up, you need to continue to absorb natural energy to transform Sage chakra. But Jingyi's reincarnation eye can absorb natural energy autonomously, so that Jingyi's absorption and consumption remain at a balance point. That is to say, after he enters the fairy chakra mode, as long as the battle consumption is not that great, he can maintain this state for a long time. Unlike other people, they can only be turned on at critical moments and end when they are consumed. The big head came to Jingyi and observed carefully, and the slug sage finally came to a conclusion. Little Jingyi, your eyes are very special, and they are also very compatible with the fairy arts of the wet bone forest. Perhaps your future achievements will surpass those of Shaojirama. Quote. Quote. My upper limit is Senju Hashirama. Don't be kidding. It's a pity that the slug sage only knows that the reincarnation eye is very special and magical, but he doesn't know how terrible these eyes are. Without dwelling on this question, Jingyi looked up and asked, Slug Immortal, has my immortal arts training come to an end? Yes. Slug Immortal sighed. You mastered the immortal arts of the wet bone forest faster than Xiaojujian. The training ends here. As for the rest, you need to slowly adapt. Slug Immortal is not a human being. He is a straightforward being. He will say what he wants to say directly, unlike humans who will choose euphemisms or other roundabout ways. Good is good, bad is bad. That's good, I can finally have a good rest for a while. Every day he is busy during the day, and after get off work, he has to go to the wet bone forest to practice immortal arts at night. After a period of time, Jingyi feels that he is a little dazed, and obviously does not have enough rest time. Now he is finally free, and he does not have to go to the wet bone forest every day. It is enough for him to slowly explore and adapt in the camp. Right, then I'll take you back, little Jingyi. Compared to the long life of the slug sage, Jingyi is indeed a little guy compared to him. Then I'll trouble you, slug sage. Jingyi released the sage chakra mode. He needed to go back and have a good sleep, and then rest for a while to get rid of the fatigue accumulated during this period. Senior, scaring people will scare people to death. Just after returning to the lounge, he saw someone sitting here. Jingyi was startled. After seeing the other person's face clearly, he complained a few words in a bad mood. Nara Shikako smiled faintly. You Hyuga Shikako are so timid. I'm not timid, I'm afraid that I will be scared and then beat you to death. I'm timid, I'm afraid that I can't control myself and slap you to death. Nara Shikako. This kid is really not polite when talking to the senior. Senior, do you want to talk to me? He picked up the kettle and poured himself a glass of water, took off the wet coat full of mucus, and threw it into the trash can beside him. From today on, he is free. Finally, he doesn't have to go to the wet bone forest to practice immortal arts anymore. Looking at the clothes covered with mucus or mud, Narashikishin looked at them curiously. Fortunately, he was able to control his curiosity and did not ask where Jingyi went or why he suddenly appeared again. If nothing unexpected happens, it should be related to the reverse spiritualism of the spiritual beast. After changing into a clean set of clothes, Jingyi felt comfortable all over. He took out a cup, poured 2 cups of hot water, and handed 1 cup to Narashikishin. Thank you. Taking the cup and drinking a sip of hot water, Narashikishin said, Jingyi, some words are not good to say, but I believe you understand that now you and I are on the same boat. It can be said that they are on the same boat, but neither side has stated it. Jingyi nodded and acknowledged what Narashikishin said. Tsunade said that you promised her that the village can win the battle in the rain country. Yes, Tsunade is not the 3rd Hokage. Since she treats Ino Shikacho as her own, she will definitely tell them something. Jingyi was not surprised that Narashikishin knew this. Then our goals are the same. Narashikishin smiled with satisfaction. I don't know what cards you have, and I won't explore them. I came to you to know what suggestions you have for the development of the battlefield situation. It's really tiring to talk to you brainy people. It takes a long time to think about a sentence. Jingyi put down the cup in his hand and said helplessly. Senior, what do you want to say? Just say it directly. There is no need to beat around the bush. It's very tiring. I want to seek a union, but I can't convince the Hokage and the elders, so I need Tsunade to fully support me and lobby to get the Hokage. The support of Lord Cage and the elders. Quote, having said this, Narashikako no longer concealed his purpose of looking for Jingyi. He wanted to help Konoha, but he couldn't convince the 3rd Hokage and others. He needed support. Narashikako knew that many of Tsunade's things were proposed by Jingyi. In other words, it would be better to go directly to Jingyi than to Tsunade. Seeking an alliance, Jingyi was stunned for a moment, and after thinking for a moment, he said in surprise, Senior wants to unite with the Rain Village. Again, there are no eternal enemies, only eternal interests. As long as the interests are enough, even if the Rain Village is an enemy, it can become an ally. It's fun to talk to smart people. Narashikako said. Yes, it's the Rain Village. The Sand Village took the initiative to provoke the war. Before the war is over, it is impossible to shake hands and make peace with the village. The Rock Village does not pay attention to this war. Onoki's eyes are on the Cloud Village. Only the Rain Village is the object we can win over. Quote, it's really interesting. First, they dragged others into the war, and then they wanted to find others to join forces. If Hanzo heard this, he would probably be furious. That was before. Now the Sand Village is the enemy of both sides. Narashikako is confident that as long as the village agrees and is willing to give compensation and benefits, he believes that he can convince Hanzo. So can Konoha and the Rain Village really unite? The answer is yes. Even though Konoha deliberately dragged the Rain Village into the war, causing the war to break out in the Land of Rain, Hanzo must hate Konoha. If Konoha shows enough sincerity to win over Hanzo, the two sides can sit down and talk. As long as the benefits are enough, the previous things are nothing. Senior, you are really unkind. Quote, Jingyi said speechlessly. You have such an idea yourself, you don't contact the Hokage, and you don't go to Tsunade, but you want me to persuade Tsunade. It's okay for the top leaders. If you want to persuade Hanzo, you need the help of the daimyo mansion. You just move your mouth, I can run my legs off. Hehe, the more capable you are, the more work you should do. After all, you are the most suitable candidate. Konoha will give enough compensation and benefits. If Hanzo still doesn't agree, then start from the daimyo mansion and let the Fire Country daimyo contact the Rain Country daimyo. By then, Hanzo will be unhappy, and the daimyo will find you. Let's see if you dare to refuse. I'll give it a try. It may not be necessary for the daimyo to persuade Hanzo, but the village must give enough benefits. Considering the character of the 3rd Hokage, it is very likely that he will agree to this suggestion. The 3rd Hokage at this time still has some courage. The more troublesome ones are the elders. Especially the old woman Koharu Udatane is the most difficult to deal with. Senior, be prepared to be rejected. Many things may not be successful even if Tsunade comes forward. Jingyi gave Nara Shikishin a shot of prevention. The greater the expectation, the greater the disappointment. Nara Shikishin stood up with a smile. Since I had this idea, I have been prepared to be rejected. Let's give it a try. If it succeeds, it's best. If it doesn't, then we'll just fight slowly. You should have a good rest. I see that you have been very tired recently. Training is important, but rest is also important. As the head of the Nara clan, Nara Shikishin knows some of the secrets in the village, so he is not curious about what Jingyi is doing or where he went. Senior, take care. After sending Nara Shikishin away, Jingyi took out the scroll, wrote this matter, and sent the scroll to the village with a puppet, and the rest was handed over to Tsunade. Tsunade would definitely not reject Nara Shikishin's suggestion. The difficulty lies in the Hokage's office and the elders. The scroll was sent out in the middle of the night and arrived in Konoha at dawn. It was successfully delivered to Tsunade's hands. After reading the scroll, Tsunade began to have a headache. Senior, you really know how to make trouble for me. The suggestion is good, but it is not easy to get the support of the third Hokage and others. Tsunade can only choose to try. Fortunately, Nara Shikako and Shizuichi are ready to be rejected. It would be best if this proposal is adopted, but it doesn't matter if it is rejected. Just fight slowly. The war is not so easy to end. There is still work to do in the future. Arriving at the Hokage office building, Tsunade walked into the Hokage's office and told Nara Shikako's suggestion. The third Hokage frowned directly. Tsunade, in order to suppress the development of Rain Village, the village deliberately dragged Rain Village into the water, causing Rain Country to become a battlefield of the three major countries. The relationship between Rain Village and the village has reached a freezing point. It is very difficult for us to persuade Hanzo of the salamander. I know, Tsunade said. Difficulty does not mean that it is impossible. As long as we can persuade Hanzo of the salamander and let Rain Village and Konoha unite, the battlefield situation in Rain Country will change. I will let Koharu and others come, everyone sit down and negotiate. After thinking for a while, the third Hokage decided to hold a simple meeting. As for the solution, wait until the meeting is over. After receiving the notice, Utane Koharu and Midoman En came, and Akamichi Tofu also came. Including Tsunade, the 5 people sat in the Hokage's office and began to discuss. No, I refuse. As expected, after learning Tsunade's purpose, Koharu Udatane immediately began to object. I am not targeting anyone. Everything I said is from the perspective of the village and is for the good of the village. It seems to be beneficial to us to win over an ally in the Rain Country, but don't forget that there are more than 3 families fighting on the battlefield in the Rain Country. We paid a huge price to win over the Rain Village, but what about the Rock Village? Once the village and the Rain Village unite, will the stimulated Rock Village unite with the Sand Village? This makes sense, and the third Hokage and Midokado En nodded slightly. Akamichi Tofu was silent for a while, and said, the focus of the Rock Village is on the Cloud Village, so. Fatty, can you guarantee that the Rock Village and the Sand Village will not unite? Udatane Koharu didn't want to hear this, and asked directly, if you can guarantee that the Rock Village and the Sand Village will not come together, then I will represent the elders to agree to negotiate with the Rain Village. Quote. I promise nothing. Akamichi Tofu wanted to curse. The relationship between villages changes rapidly, especially during the war. Konoha can think of negotiating with the Rain Village, and the Sand Village and the Rock Village may also have such ideas. The Sand Village has actually taken action, but it was just rejected. Of course, Konoha didn't know this information. If Konoha wants to cooperate with the Rain Village, in addition to trying hard to persuade the salamander Hanzo, it also needs to worry about the reaction of the Rock Village. Once the Rock Village is stimulated, it will turn around and unite with the Sand Village. Konoha will still suffer at that time. After all, the Rain Village cannot be compared with the Rock Village. Even if Konoha finally unites with the Rain Village, facing the joint attack of the Sand Village and the Rock Village, they will still suffer in the end. Not to mention that they don't know that Chiyo has contacted the Rock Village. Even if they know, the third Hokage and others dare not gamble. It is even possible to turn the tables and think that it was Tsunade who proposed this suggestion, which led to the Rock Village and the Sand Village to unite against Konoha. I knew it would be like this. Tsunade sighed and folded her hands in front of her chest. She didn't want to talk anymore. In the war, contacting one of the enemies and reaching an alliance is a risky thing. As long as the top leaders agree and give enough benefits, I believe that Hanzo will agree, and the success rate is very high. At worst, just ask the daimyo to help speak. But Udatane Kaharu caught the Rock Village. Today's meeting was in vain, a pure waste of time. Fortunately, Tsunade was prepared, so she was not too disappointed. After the meeting, Tsunade and Akimichi Tofu left first. Hiruzen, what do you think Tsunade wants to do? Udatane Kaharu complained. She is interfering in the affairs of the village more and more. The current war situation is already chaotic. They still want to unite with the Rain Village. If this causes the Rock Village to be stimulated, the village will be in danger. With the pharmaceutical department and the Anbu in her hands, what's wrong with Tsunade interfering in the affairs of the village? It's reasonable, but when a woman is unreasonable, she won't listen to anything, so the third Hokage directly skipped this. What you said makes sense, so I also think that the peace talks with the Rain Village are not appropriate. The war situation can change at any time. The current situation is most beneficial to the village. In the eyes of many people, the situation in the Rain country is most beneficial to Konoha. The Rock Village is not very enthusiastic about this war. There is a strong enemy behind them who may come to steal their home at any time, so the focus of the Rock Village has always been on the Cloud Village. The Sand Village and Konoha are fighting to the death, and the Rain Village is biting the Sand Village. Compared with the difficult Sand Village, Konoha's situation is not bad. At least for now, so the F4 group is not willing to take risks at all. Even if they can really convince the Rain Village, they will worry about the reaction of the Rock Village. Leaving the Hokage office building, Akimichi Tofu sighed. I don't know if it's because of age, Monkey has lost his previous courage, and the elders' interference in the village is too serious. Who can blame the old man for burying the mines himself? Tsunade curled her lips. Under normal circumstances, the elders do not have such great power. During the First Ninja World War, the third Hokage won over other members of the F4 group in order to secure the throne of Hokage, and gave them many benefits and rights. It is difficult to take it back now. I will let Jingyi inform Senior Lu Xun that the suggestion has not been passed, so he should not continue to worry about this matter. It is just that the elders are against it, and Tsunade can still lobby. The key is that the third Hokage is not willing to take risks. With the elders and the third Hokage, it is difficult for Tsunade to come forward. The news of the village was delivered to the frontline camp that day. Jingyi wanted to go to the headquarters, but after thinking about it, he decided to send someone to inform Nara Shikishin and ask him to come over. It seems that Tsunade-sama is right. You are a good cook. Just right, it's a coincidence. Pour the vegetables into the stewed broth, bring the pot to the table, and Jingyi invites Nara Shikishin to sit down. Ha ha ha, then I won't be polite today. Nara Shikishin is very busy, and he is not a particularly greedy person. When it comes to eating, he always holds the attitude of just eating enough. In addition, the conditions in the camp are limited, so it's good to be full, why bother so much? Jingyi is the only one in the camp who can cook for himself. No one will object to Nara Shikishin cooking for himself, but he won't do it. This is bacon, it's well pickled and tastes good. After tasting a piece of meat, Nara Shikishin savored it and felt that something was missing. Jingyi took out a bottle of sake and handed it over. I said something was missing, it turned out to be wine. With wine and meat, the taste is good. The two sat together and ate for a long time. Seeing that the meal was almost over, Nara Shikiko asked, did the village refuse? Yeah, Jingyi was full and wiped his mouth after putting down his bowl and chopsticks. The Hokage is not firm in his position. The elders think it is risky to do so. They are worried that the Rock Village will be stimulated and will unite with the Sand Village, so they strongly refuse. Although he was mentally prepared, Nara Shikiko was still a little disappointed when he heard this. Then let's grind slowly. Without the support of the village, even if Nara Shikiko personally went to see Hanzo and persuade the other party, it would be in vain. If you try hard to persuade the other party, but the promised benefits and resources are not delivered, it will make others angry and embarrassed. At that time, the Rain Village will not be chasing the Sand Village, but Konoha. After seeing off Nara Shikishin, Jingyi changed his clothes and went to the ward of the medical room to patrol as usual. Master Jingyi. The medical ninjas and medical staff in the medical room greeted him with a smile when they saw him coming. Thank you for your hard work. Jingyi responded with a smile. After patrolling around and making sure that there was no problem, he returned to the lounge. When he returned to the lounge, Jingyi fell asleep. He wanted to make up for the sleep he had lost during this period. On the battlefield of the camp in the courtyard, in a mountain, Jiraiya lay on the ground without any image, looking a little embarrassed and even a little miserable. Ahem, we won't die here, will we? After coughing twice, a lot of blood flowed from the corners of his mouth. Jiraiya laughed self-deprecatingly. Sure enough, Jingyi's words make sense. We are still too young after all. Can you say less? We are too young. Jingyi is the young one, okay. Hitaki Tsukumo wanted to roll his eyes, but he was too tired to move his fingers. He could only rest against the rock to recover his strength. Among the three, only Orochimaru was in a better condition. It was not that Orochimaru was much stronger than the other two, but that Orochimaru reacted quickly. Ahem, how should we contact the camp? Hitaki Tsukumo closed his eyes and did not speak. Orochimaru sat aside and took out a scroll unhurriedly, and took out a crow puppet from the scroll. The crow puppet came out of the scroll, looked at the situation outside, and jumped onto Orochimaru's arm and stood. Dog, shit Orochimaru, what time is it, and you still have the mind to play with summoning beasts? Hitaki Tsukumo, who was resting with his eyes closed, opened his eyes and looked at Orochimaru curiously. The current situation of the three is not good. When they were chasing the ninjas of the Sand Village, they were ambushed by the Rock Village. No one expected that the Rock Village, which had never targeted Konoha, would send them such a big gift. Thanks to the three's strong strength, they broke out of the encirclement of the Iwagakure village. Hitaki Tsukumo was seriously injured and no longer able to fight. Jiraiya was even worse off. Covered with wounds, the wounds on his body were still bleeding. Ignoring Jiraiya, who was talking nonsense, Orochimaru looked at the crow puppet in his hand. Can you contact your master? Jiraiya, Hitaki Tsukumo, is Orochimaru crazy? Or was Tsunade hit in the head when she broke out of the encirclement? The crow puppet called twice, still looking around curiously. Who is looking for me? Just when Orochimaru was about to continue, the crow puppet's eyes lit up, and then Jingyi's confused voice came out of the crow puppet's mouth. It sounded like he was sleeping, and he hadn't woken up yet. Jingyi was indeed sleeping. To be precise, he was taking a nap, but he was sleeping and suddenly heard someone talking to him. The puppet given life by the reincarnation eye can be used as a monitor and a microphone, but the distance is not very far, so it can be controlled at will. Quote. Ward hair, what the hell is this? Jingyi's voice came out of the crow's mouth. Are we under an illusion? Hitaki Tsukumo and Jiraiya looked as if they had seen a ghost, and Orochimaru's mouth corners slightly raised, a smile that even AK couldn't suppress. Jingyi, I'm Orochimaru. Our team was ambushed by the Rock Village. The rest of the team died, leaving only Jiraiya, me, and Tsukumo Sr. Orochimaru quickly described the current situation, and summed it up in 2 words, help. In the rest room of the camp, Jingyi, who was in a daze, woke up in an instant. You mean you were ambushed, and now you are preparing for the siege of the Rock Village's Earth Escape Army, and your own state is very bad, right? Yes, got it. After speaking, the crow puppet returned to its original state. Jiraiya, lying on the ground, stammered, stinky, cough cough, stinky fart Orochimaru, what on earth is this? Hitaki Tsukumo didn't say anything, but he was also itching in his heart. After all, this thing is too outrageous. They were far away on the battlefield and could actually get in touch with Jingyi in the camp through a crow. If there were more crows like this, it would definitely be a nightmare for the enemy. Because Konoha can control the enemy's movements at any time. It can directly achieve remote command. It's a puppet made by Jingyi, not a summoned beast. After saying that, Orochimaru sat down against the rock. He looked in better condition, but it was only on the surface. If it weren't for his quick reaction and speed, he would probably be the same as Jiraiya and Hitaki Tsukumo. Puppet. Jiraiya and Hatake Tsukumo felt that their three views were shocked. There are such puppets in the ninja world. In the camp, Jingyi turned over and put on his clothes, put on a raincoat, and quickly left the medical room and came to the command center. The two of them were ambushed by the Iwagakure village and suffered heavy losses. Currently, Orochimaru, Jiraiya, and Hatake Tsukumo are being hunted down. They are not in good condition. I need to rescue them. Wait, the raised hand was still in the air, and there was no trace of Jingyi in the command center. Nara Shikako, who was still a little confused, wanted to ask, how did you know that they were ambushed and hunted down? How did you know? Just tell me. What happened to running away in the middle of a sentence? After successfully contacting the camp and getting rescued, Jiraiya came back to his senses after a while and said happily. That means we don't have to die. No, Shizuka is just a medical ninja, how can he rescue us? Idiot. Orochimaru was too lazy to explain. He didn't even want to pay attention to Jiraiya. Seeing this, Hatake Tsukumo could only smile bitterly and said, Orochimaru, I'm actually curious too, why don't you tell me? I'm free anyway, so let's just chat. Orochimaru opened his mouth, but finally chose to give Hatake Tsukumo some face. Shizuka is not just a medical ninja, he is very strong, my feeling is not wrong, and he made a large number of puppets, at least 500 of them have reached the level of Jonin, and all the puppets are more than 1,000. For the mission, Orochimaru hunted a large number of creatures comparable to Jonin as materials for Shizuka. He believed that Shizuka could turn these corpses into powerful puppets. Hiss. Holding thousands of puppets in his hands, at least 500 of them have reached the level of Jonin. Hatake Tsukumo couldn't help but take a breath, he suddenly felt powerless. Is it necessary to fight this war? Let Jingyi go. Hundreds of puppets rush forward in a swarm. It's simply invincible. As a result, Jingyi, who has such exaggerated combat power, stayed in the camp as a medical ninja, which is simply weird. Hatake Tsukumo asked himself, if he had such a strong strength, he would have been flying high a long time ago. There are thousands of puppets, and at least 500 of them have reached the level of Jonin. Jiraiya, with a blank mind, counted on his fingers for a long time. I should have let him go to the battlefield earlier. If Jingyi went directly to the battlefield, would they be so miserable? Once the puppet army came out, I'm afraid that the enemy would not even recognize their parents. Although this is only one-sided statement from Orochimaru, people who are familiar with Orochimaru know that this guy will not joke, let alone joke about serious matters. They are still being hunted down. If Jingyi cannot rescue them, the three of them will most likely die here. Surround, continue searching. Around the cave where Orochimaru and the other two are hiding, a large number of Iwagakure ninjas are searching everything around them, trying to catch the three people who escaped. Hulong too, who was commanding the battle, was also among them. Iwagakure gave Konoha a big blow without saying a word, and the purpose was very clear, that is, to eliminate the new generation of Konoha's strong men. Hatake Tsukumo, Orochimaru, and Jiraiya are all very representative new generation strong men of Konoha, who can strangle the future of Konoha in the cradle. This practice of besieging and killing geniuses from other villages is done by the 5 major ninja villages. Konoha happened to be busy fighting with the Sand Village, so it gave the Iwagakure a chance. According to the speed of the Iwagakure village's search, it won't take long to find the hiding place of Orochimaru and his men. The 3 people hiding in the cave have no strength left to fight again, and perhaps Orochimaru still has a little strength to resist. As for Hatake Tsukumo and Jiraiya, they have already laid down. Hatake Tsukumo was also unlucky. He ran into Hanzo of the Salamander before and was seriously injured and fled back to the camp. He had just recovered and re-entered the battlefield, but he was ambushed by the Iwagakure village. In the rainy night, a huge eagle approached quickly from the sky. Jingyi relied on the position of the puppet to lock the hiding place of Orochimaru and his 3 men. Looking at the dense figures on the ground, Jingyi couldn't help laughing. The Iwagakure village is really ruthless. Either don't do it, or kill them all at once. This clearly wants to kill all the new generation of Konoha strongmen in one pot. It seems that in the original work, Tsunade and the other 3 were also ambushed in a similar way. If Konoha's rescue army had not arrived in time, there would probably be no so-called 3 ninjas. I didn't expect Tsunade to be in charge of the village, Hataki. Sakumo replaced Tsunade, but Orochimaru and his men were still ambushed. Tisk, sometimes it's not good to be too famous. After locking the position, Jingyi controlled the puppet to descend quickly. Lord Wangtu, there is something in the sky. The giant eagle descended quickly, attracting the attention of the enemy. The people of the Rock Ninja village gave up the search and turned their attention to the sky. I'm here, come out. In the cave, the eyes of the puppet crow lit up again. Orochimaru smiled with relief, and the rescue came at an astonishing speed. He helped Hataki Sakumo up, and carried Jiraiya, who was lying like a dead pig and couldn't move, and Orochimaru quickly walked towards the blocked cave entrance. Get ready for battle. Wangtu frowned and looked at the sky. If nothing unexpected happened, the people who came must be enemies, and they might be coming for the 3 people they were chasing. It was raining heavily, and Jingyi was too lazy to fight with the enemy. He threw out a scroll and controlled the giant eagle to fall in the direction of Orochimaru and the other 2. Be careful, ninjas have good eyesight. Seeing the scroll falling from the sky, the Iwagakure ninjas on the ground were cautious and alert. When the swaying scroll approached the ground quickly, it suddenly broke apart. In an instant, dozens of figures appeared on the battlefield, and dozens of pairs of blue eyes were particularly conspicuous in the dark night. What the hell is this? Konoha's ninja. It doesn't look like it. Whose ninja can run out of the sealed scroll? Puppet. Wait, isn't this the ninja clothes of our Iwagakure? Asshole. Huangtu looked closely and found that several of the figures were wearing Iwagakure ninja clothes. He immediately realized that these were not people at all, but puppets. The ninjas of the Rock Village died on the battlefield, their bodies were taken away by Konoha, and then made into puppets. Huangtu would not find this situation strange when he saw it in the Sand Village, because the Sand Village likes to do this, and they are good at making puppets out of the bodies of ninjas, and Konoha's puppet ninjas are pitifully few, even rarer than national treasures. What Huangtu can see, others can see too. The eyes of several Rock Village ninjas at the scene were stunned. Is that Deu? Isn't he dead? I saw Jiro. Shut up. Huangtu scolded with a dark face. These people are no longer our companions, the enemy made their bodies into puppets. As soon as these words came out, the Rock Village exploded. However, before they could attack, dozens of puppets rushed towards them like ghosts. Huangtu shouted, "Everyone be careful. The enemy's puppets are coming." The weapon of the humanoid puppet is kunai, which is standard, and cheap, which is very suitable for use with humanoid puppets. As for other weapons, Jingyi was reluctant to equip these puppets. It's just a bunch of consumables, why waste extra money? Die. One of the Iwagakure ninjas held the kunai in his hand tightly and fought with the kunai in the front. The kunai collided, and the powerful impact force came along with the kunai. The Iwagakure ninja did not expect the puppet to be so powerful. His whole body paused and he stepped back a few steps, but the puppet on the opposite side was not affected at all. It quickly rushed up and the kunai pierced his heart. After a successful attack, the puppet did not pause and quickly rushed to the next enemy. Beware, beware, the battlefield was in chaos. Dozens of puppets rushed into the camp of the Iwagakure village desperately, attacking the people around them crazily, regardless of whether they would be injured. The most troublesome thing is that even if the heads of these puppets are chopped off, they can still wave the weapons in their hands and give you a fatal blow. The battle started with a one-sided situation, which Wangtu did not expect. He was raising his hand to prepare for the seal, watching these puppets rushing quickly towards the crowded place, and couldn't help cursing a few words, and rushed up with kunai in hand. The giant eagle landed on a small hillside. A rock was pushed away on the hillside, and Orochimaru came out carrying Jiraiya and supporting Hataki Sakumo. I came in time, didn't I? Very timely. Orochimaru smiled and threw Jiraiya on the back of the giant eagle, and said thankfully, I was just trying it out, but I didn't expect that I could really contact you through the puppet. Your puppet can be controlled remotely, right? It's still you, Orochimaru. Jingyi laughed and gave Orochimaru a thumbs up. To be honest, Orochimaru's research ability is really awesome. Ha ha ha. After receiving high praise from Jingyi, Orochimaru also laughed. Don't laugh, the enemy is coming up soon. Jingyi threw out dozens of puppets. Although the puppets fought desperately, there were many ninjas in the Rock Village. With mutual cooperation, they quickly solved the puppets one by one. In addition, the puppets thrown out by Jingyi were just a batch of defective products. The damage that this batch of defective products can cause to the enemy is limited. Jingyi helped Hatake Tsukumo sit on the back of the giant eagle, and turned his head to Orochimaru and said, "Do you want to see the fairy scattering flowers?" Fairy scattering flowers. What does it mean? Such a strange word. Orochimaru didn't understand, and Jiraiya and Hatake Tsukumo were even more confused. Surround them. The meat was at his mouth, Wangtu would not allow them to run away. Jingyi, quickly release the puppets to kill them, you release the puppets. Jiraiya shouted anxiously. Jingyi looked at him speechlessly, ignored him, raised his right hand, put the thumb and middle finger of his right hand together, and grinned at Wangtu. "I hope you like my gift." Quote question mark question mark question mark quote. What does it mean? Can you still laugh when you are surrounded? This kid who came out of nowhere doesn't really think that he can successfully escape from the battlefield with a bird. Bang! Smiling and uttering this syllable, Jingyi walked onto the giant eagle's back and snapped his fingers. As the fingers snapped, the puppets that had been completely dismembered suddenly lit up with a faint blue light. Not good. Seeing this scene, Huangtu's eyelids twitched a few times. There were still many ninjas in the village who were still fighting with the puppets. Once these puppets exploded, hiss. Boom. The next second, Huangtu's expectation came true. One puppet after another exploded violently like a bomb. From the time the puppets lit up blue light to the time they exploded, it took less than 2 seconds. Huangtu wanted to remind the ninjas in the village to be on guard, but it was too late. He could only watch the ninjas from the same village being blown away with a scream. The lucky ones were blown away, and the unlucky ones were blown to pieces on the spot, and even the complete bodies could not be preserved. The explosive power of the puppets is much more exaggerated than the detonating talisman. As the loud explosions reached his ears, Huangtu's mind went blank. He had never dreamed that these puppets would explode. The puppets are completely different. Wait, the guy who came to rescue on the giant eagle didn't seem to control the puppets. Can these puppets move freely? As if he had discovered some incredible secret, Huangtu's face changed on the spot. The explosion continued, and those ninjas who were not in the explosion area were stunned. No one expected that the puppets without the ability to move would explode, and the power was amazing. At this time, no one paid attention to Jingyi and others. Jingyi calmly controlled the giant eagle to fly into the sky and quickly moved away from the battlefield. It can still explode. Orochimaru's eyes were a little stunned. He couldn't figure out why these puppets exploded. He had disassembled Jingyi's puppets for research, and the disassembled puppets showed no signs of explosion. Could they be 2 different puppets? No, it must be the same kind. Jingyi can control these puppets to self-destruct. When Orochimaru thought about studying these puppets without any defense, he was shocked and broke out in a cold sweat. If the puppet suddenly exploded when he was concentrating on studying the puppet, he would be dead. Gouda, looking at the tragic situation on the battlefield below, Hatake Tsukumo said weakly, "Jingyi, can I learn how to make a puppet?" With such a puppet, who the hell would rush to the front to fight to the death? In battle, it is enough to let the puppet go. The puppet will explode even if it falls down. This is definitely a killer move that makes the enemy timid. The puppet's fighting style is to fight desperately. They are not afraid of death, but your enemy. They need to fight the puppet carefully, and they have to guard against the explosion of the puppet during the battle. Such a battle is the most frustrating. You need to be careful. The puppets don't care about these things at all. They have no life, and they will fight you to death when they enter the combat state. Not only will they fight you to death, they will also drag you to explode at any time. Ahem, count me in. Jiraiya said with a smile, which caused the wound to vibrate and blood to flow from the corner of his mouth again. Don't come on, this is a unique secret technique that will not be passed on to others, so don't worry about it. Many secret techniques will not be passed on to others, and most ninja families have such secret techniques. It's fine if they are not passed on to others, but even if they are passed on, you may not be able to learn them. Jiraiya grimaced in pain, but he didn't care about these, but was interested in Jingyi's puppets. Orochimaru said that you have at least hundreds of puppets comparable to those of Jonin, is this true? You even said this. Jing glanced at Orochimaru and answered Jiraiya's question. It's just a comparison. In fact, it's not as strong as a Jonin. Unless I control it myself, a Jonin-level ninja can easily take down my puppet as long as his strength is not too bad. The strength of puppets has reached the level of Jonin, but it is only calculated by the materials used in making them. It does not mean that these puppets really have the strength of Jonin. Puppets are always puppets and cannot be compared with humans. For example, Orochimaru is a Jonin. It is so easy for him to hunt powerful creatures comparable to Jonin. This is the gap. So, if you don't have enough strength, you can only make up for it with numbers. I came all the way to save you. You have to help me hunt more materials in the future. No problem. Orochimaru smiled and nodded, agreeing to this request. I have no problem either, ahem. Jiraiya felt that his whole body was about to fall apart. Hatake Tsukumo hesitated. Jingyi, your own strength should not be weak. Do you still need to prepare so many puppets? With what Orochimaru said before, even if Jingyi is just a medical ninja, he can be regarded as a medical ninja of the type of Tsunade, and his own strength must be strong. In this case, why pursue a large number of puppets? Who said that? This is slander. Jingyi excitedly retorted. I am just a medical ninja. As we all know, medical ninjas are the weakest and lack the power to protect themselves, so I have to prepare more puppets to protect my safety. Quote. You still need to prepare more puppets to protect your safety. What about us? Hatake Tsukumo didn't want to talk anymore. Count me in for the materials. Others came all the way to save you, and this favor must be repaid. Jingyi only wants the materials to make puppets, and such a return is not difficult for people. In the ninja world, there is not much else, and those powerful creatures are grabbed in large quantities. The giant eagle flew quickly towards the camp. On the way, Jingyi saw a small black dot lying on the ground. Jingyi lifted his foot, and the giant eagle slowed down, slowly descended from the sky, and flew close at low altitude. What a coincidence, it's someone from the village. Since it was someone from the village, Jingyi directly asked the giant eagle to take the person up. It was not far from the camp, so there was no need to stop and waste time. The giant eagle was very fast, and it arrived at the camp soon. There were unknown flying creatures approaching in the sky, which attracted great attention from the camp. Orochimaru launched a signal flare first to notify the people in the camp, so that the camp would not treat them as enemies. It was a signal flare from the village. The ninjas in the camp let down their guard and made way for an open space. The giant eagle slowly landed and stood steadily on the open space in the camp. After everyone came down, Jingyi put away the puppet. Master Shizuichi, Master Luxon, please go to the headquarters immediately. Okay, I'll go right away. At this time, Nara Luxon must have a lot of questions in his mind. Shizuichi handed Jiraiya to Orochimaru and went to the headquarters. At the headquarters, Nara Luxon was playing chess alone. Hearing the footsteps, he straightened up and put away the chessboard. Are they all okay? It's relatively timely. If I went later, I could help them collect their bodies. The Rock Village is planning to bury the new generation of strong people in the village and fundamentally weaken us. Shizuichi took off his coat, walked into the restroom next to him, and quickly changed into clean clothes. Wearing wet clothes, he felt uncomfortable all over. Watching Shizuichi walk into the restroom to change clothes, Nara Luxon's mouth twitched a few times. This kid really doesn't treat himself as an outsider at all. After Jingyi changed his clothes and came out, Nara Shikishin continued. This is what the Iwagakure would do. I didn't expect that the Iwagakure would prepare such a great gift for us. An elite unit, only 3 people came back alive. This time, Konoha suffered a lot of losses. The elite unit was almost wiped out by the Iwagakure. If it weren't for Jingyi's fast speed, Orochimaru and his 3 companions might not have come back. Orochimaru would be fine, as he had a first-class ability to escape, but Hatake Tsukumo, who was seriously injured and unable to fight again, was in danger. Without rescue, the 2 might die. Will the village be put in a passive position if the elite unit is destroyed? Yes, but it's not a big problem. Konoha would feel pain if it lost an elite unit, but it would not affect the war situation. Of course, this is based on the fact that Hatake Tsukumo, Jiraiya, and Orochimaru were rescued. If even the 3 of them were killed, Konoha would definitely suffer a huge loss. By the way, How did you contact them? There was no movement in the camp, and Jingyi ran out to rescue. It was thanks to him that he ran out to rescue, otherwise there would be a lot of trouble. Jingyi poured himself a cup of hot water. After drinking 2 sips of hot water, his body gradually warmed up. Orochimaru has my puppet in his hand, and he used the puppet to contact me. Quote question mark question mark question mark question mark. What the hell? If Jingyi said that Orochimaru used summoning beasts or other means to contact him, Nara Shikishin would not be surprised. In the ninja world, there are too many strange ninjutsu and abilities. But what the hell is a puppet? Are you kidding me? For details, ask Orochimaru yourself. I'm sleepy and I'm leaving first. Quote. Jingyi didn't have time to tell stories to Nara Shikishin. The people had been rescued, and he needed to have a good sleep. He was sleeping well, but Orochimaru actually contacted him through a puppet. Jingyi admired this guy for thinking of such a way. If it were anyone else, they would never believe that the puppet made by Jingyi could be used as a communicator. This kid has more and more secrets. Quote, Jingyi was busy sleeping, so Nara Shikishin could only let him rest first, since there was Orochimaru who knew the truth anyway. Orochimaru's injury was not serious, and he could leave after a simple treatment. But Hatake Tsukumo needed to stay in the medical room to recuperate for a while, and as for Jiraiya, he couldn't leave the medical room for 10 days or half a month. After receiving treatment, Orochimaru walked out of the medical room and ran into someone sent by Nara Shikishin. The elite troops were destroyed in a wave, and Nara Shikishin and Hatake Tsukumo couldn't get rid of this blame. One was the captain of the elite troops, and the other was the frontline commander. On the contrary, Orochimaru and Jiraiya were free, and the blame would not fall on them. Sit down. At the command center, Nara Shikishin looked at the report with a headache. Don't think that he talked easily with Jingyi. In fact, the destruction of the elite troops had a greater impact on the battlefield situation. Orochimaru pulled out a chair and sat down. The battle was over, and the two sides were in chaos. Nara Shikishin closed the scroll and said with a headache. Then Orochimaru, please report the details of what happened. I need to report this to the Hokage. Orochimaru began to tell the story of the elite troops. Hatake Tsukumo's command was not problematic, and Nara Shikishin's battle plan was also sound. No one expected that the rock village would hold back a big wave. It caught everyone off guard. Ah, Nara Shikishin sighed. I didn't expect it. The rock village really went after you guys. What elite troops? The rock village didn't care at all, they cared about Konoha's genius. Although Konoha felt pain when an elite unit was annihilated, it could quickly raise a second elite unit. However, the death of one of the village's geniuses was a huge loss. The appetite of the rock village was a bit too big, and they wanted to wipe out 3 at once. Forget it, it's useless to regret it now. Shaking his head, Nara Shikishin suppressed these troubles and asked. Jingyi said that you contacted him through his puppet. Can you tell me how you did it? It seems that many people are still in the dark. Orochimaru wanted to laugh for some reason. Because I disassembled Jingyi's puppet and studied it. It's amazing that he can give life to the puppet. During the research, I was thinking, since Jingyi can give life to the puppet, can he remotely control the puppet? Quote. Quote. Do you know what you are talking about? Nara Shikishin was dumbfounded. Give life to the puppet. And remotely control the puppet. What kind of means is this? Orochimaru continued. Jingyi's puppet is very special. Not only can it be controlled remotely, but it can also communicate through the puppet, and even monitor with the puppet. The puppet is very powerful. Speaking of this, Orochimaru described the process of Jingyi's rescue. Nara Shikiko's heavy heart immediately became active. He swallowed nervously. You mean, Jingyi has at least 1,000 puppets in his hands. Some of the puppets are as powerful as ordinary jonin. What kind of god is this? He holds a king bomb in his hand and sits in the camp as a medical ninja, right? Recalling Jingyi's original words, Orochimaru smiled faintly. Jingyi said that he is just a medical ninja and has no power to protect himself, so he has to make more puppets for self-protection. God, self-protection. Others don't know, but Nara Shikiko knows very well that Jingyi's strength is definitely extraordinary. It's just that he hasn't had the opportunity to show it yet. It is not an exaggeration to regard him as the second Tsunade. As a result, He said that he was a weak medical ninja who needed strength to protect himself. Nara Shikako felt like he had eaten a big lemon, and his heart was sour. You said, can we send the puppets made by Jingyi to the battlefield? Nara Shikako suddenly had some unique ideas. That is to send the puppets made by Jingyi to the battlefield. Compared with puppets, the lives of village ninjas are more valuable. If the problem can be solved with puppets, why let the ninjas of the village fight for their lives? Orochimaru smiled. If each team carries a few puppets. Nara Shikako slapped the table excitedly. He was moved. Jingyi is right, he does need protection, the village should take it seriously, and never let such a genius take risks. Most people may think of letting Jingyi enter the battlefield, but Nara Shikako is different. He thinks Jingyi is too special, so he should be protected. It is enough to make some puppets and let the village's ninjas take the puppets to fight. Puppets that can fight with the enemy and explode can definitely make the enemy collapse. Not to mention that Jingyi's puppets can also be used as a transit station for communication. Orochimaru, you go and rest first. I will contact the village immediately. This matter must be taken seriously. Nara Shikako thinks much further than ordinary people. Orochimaru smiled and got up and left. He really hopes that the village can take this matter seriously, so that he can become Jingyi's exclusive puppet maker. Nara Shikako immediately passed the news back to the village, and the third Hokage and Tsunade both had it. Before Jingyi woke up, the scroll had already been delivered to the village. The third Hokage looked at the contents of the scroll and dropped the scroll on the table with a thud. He didn't even react to the sound. He was stunned for a long time, then quickly picked up the scroll and looked at it carefully. If he didn't believe that Nara Shikako was not the kind of person who would joke about serious matters, the third Hokage would even think that the other party was deliberately looking for him to have fun. Compared with the third Hokage who lost his composure, Tsunade was much calmer. Because Jingyi had already told her some of the bottom line, although not all, at least Tsunade was also an insider. She still had some puppets left by Jingyi. Minister, the Hokage wants to see you. The people from the Anbu came, and the third Hokage wanted to see Tsunade, in a hurry. After knowing the strength and function of the puppet, the third Hokage couldn't sit still. Just like Nara Shikako thought, the third Hokage felt that as long as it was used well, the puppets made by Jingyi could definitely make great contributions. There was no such position as minister in the Anbu before, because the highest position in the Anbu was the captain. As the Anbu came under the control of Tsunade, the position of minister came along. Tsunade also became the first head of the Anbu. Old man, you're looking for me. Tsunade pushed open the door and walked into the Hokage's office. After asking casually, she sat directly on the sofa beside her. The third Hokage looked at Tsunade, who seemed to be unaware, with complicated eyes. He believed that Tsunade knew all about Jingyi's affairs, but Tsunade had never said it out loud. Tsunade, Jingyi's puppets are very special. You should know this, right? When Jingyi issued a task to collect the corpses of powerful creatures as puppet materials, Tsunade took the opportunity to make a fortune from this task and deducted some money from Orochimaru. Many of the materials that Jingyi used to make puppets were bought with the help of Tsunade. If he said that Tsunade didn't know, he would not believe it. I know, Jingyi started making puppets a long time ago. Tsunade replied calmly. After all, he is just a medical ninja and lacks the power to protect himself. It is reasonable for him to make some puppets to protect himself. I also bought a lot of materials for him. Quote. Seeing his disciple lying with his eyes open, the third Hokage's face turned black. Tsunade, you know what I want to say. Now you know it's urgent. What did you do earlier? Tsunade couldn't help rolling her eyes. Old man, just tell me what you want to do. I hope Jingyi can contribute the puppets. After all this is for the village. The village needs these puppets. The third Hokage wanted to get something for free as soon as he opened his mouth. Tsunade, who was originally planning to listen carefully, had a dark face. Do you want to get something for free? Or the kind that doesn't give you anything in return? Tsunade couldn't help but think of the drugs and medicines she developed in the past few years, which were also taken for free by the village. The excuse for the third generation of Hokage to fight was also for the village. Well, you are used to getting something for free, and now you have started to rob it openly under the slogan of the village, right? Then you can play slowly, I won't accompany you anymore. Tsunade didn't want to continue talking to the third generation of Hokage, so she got up and left. Bang! Looking at the door that slammed shut, the third generation of Hokage fell into silence. It seems that Tsunade is not as easy to talk to as before. It is no longer effective to use the slogan of the village to get something for free. So how to get the puppet? The third Hokage never thought of giving money or other compensation. He hoped that Jingyi would be able to understand the general situation and contribute the puppet, and it would be better to contribute the puppet's secrets as well. After all, everything is for the village. After leaving the Hokage's office, Tsunade had to let the puppet pass the scroll to Jingyi without knowing how far the puppet could communicate. In the rock village, Tsuchikage's office, Onoki looked at the intelligence scroll in his hand and was speechless for a long time. What kind of shit luck did Konoha have? After a long time, Onoki cursed inwardly. Compared with the sand village that was bent on provoking a war, Konoha that passively counterattacked, and the rain village that was dragged into the water, the rock village never thought of going to war with other villages from beginning to end. At least not now, because the neighbors next door have been watching them. After being forced into this chaotic war, Onoki set up this genius-killing plan. Who would have thought that the originally smooth plan would fail because of an irrelevant person? Even if he wiped out an elite force of Konoha, Onoki would not be happy. Because the geniuses he wanted to kill were safely evacuated. Not to mention, the rock village also fell in the end, and many people were killed by puppets. Puppets that do not need chakra threads to control, puppets seem to have life. And the puppets are very powerful, even after being dismembered, they will explode. What a mess. It's a pity that this scroll was sent back by his son, Wangtu. If it were someone else, Onoki would definitely scold him first. Can you be more outrageous? Look at what you wrote. If it was the sand village that developed some special puppets, Onoki would not be surprised. After all, the sand village is very good at playing with puppets, and Konoha. Konoha's puppet ninjas are rarer than giant pandas. A person suddenly appeared out of nowhere, and he controlled a lot of special puppets, which were more terrifying than the puppets of the sand village. No one would dare to believe it. Now that the plan to kill the genius has failed, Konoha will definitely be on guard against the rock village. It will be difficult for the rock village to continue to attack. When Onoki thought about the perfect plan being broken, his chest hurt. Why is Konoha the cradle of geniuses? With Hitaki Tsukumo, Jiraiya, Tsunade and other new generation strongmen, isn't it enough? Thinking about the village's crooked melons and jujubes, and then looking at the geniuses of Konoha, Onoki once again envied the good luck of the third Hokage. The land of rain, the camp of the sand village. Chio frowned and asked, "Are you sure the battlefield has been cleaned up?" The rock village launched a wave of attacks, which severely pitted Konoha and buried all of Konoha's elite troops. Such news cannot be hidden. Chio immediately sent people to collect intelligence. Unfortunately, the rock village cleaned the battlefield very cleanly, and even took away the bodies of Konoha's ninjas, except for some broken limbs that were of no use. Yes, Master Chio, but we found many large pits left by explosions on another battlefield. This does not look like it was left by the rock village. Every puppet explosion with strength comparable to that of a Chunin is not as powerful as a detonating talisman. After the explosion, a large pit will be left on the ground, and soon a large amount of rain will flow in, forming large puddles. Strangely, there are no fragments of detonating talismans around the large pits. Therefore, the ninjas who collected intelligence concluded that these puddles were not left by the explosion of detonating talismans. In addition to the puddles, our people also found these around. The rock village cleaned up the battlefield, but the battlefield was too large. Look carefully, you can still find some valuable information and things. The ninja in charge of intelligence took out a cloth bag. Chio took the bag and opened it with doubt. The bag contained severely deformed iron lumps and parts mixed with other materials. As one of the people who is best at playing and making puppets in Sand Village, Chio understood when he saw these things. Are these all parts for puppets? Yes, the intelligence ninja replied. Master Chio, after identification, these things are all parts for making puppets, but they are different from the parts mass-produced by the village. It seems to be getting more interesting. Chio picked up one of the parts, rubbed it hard with his thumb and index finger for a few times, and the part regained its original brightness. The number of puppet ninjas in Konoha is less than that of national treasures, and the same applies to Rock Village. Except for Sand Village, there are few villages in the ninja world where ninjas are good at making and using puppets. So the question is, where do these parts come from? And how was the big puddle left on the battlefield caused? Could it be that the puppet exploded? Chio imagined the scene at that time, but as soon as the scene came to her mind, she shook her head vigorously and killed the idea. The ninjas of Konoha and Iwagakure used puppets, which was simply an international joke. Continue to send more people to investigate. Although there were many doubts, this was good news for the Sand Village. Unoki, you are really not a good thing. Looking in the direction of Iwagakure, Chio smiled coldly. Before, Iwagakure rejected her proposal for cooperation, but turned around and gave Konoha a big gift. Chio admired Unoki's decisiveness and ruthlessness. Others were busy fighting. Only Iwagakure directly targeted several new generation strongmen of Konoha, trying to take them down in one pot. So did Iwagakure succeed? Pass on my order, continue to push towards Konoha's position. We need to put enough pressure on the enemy. Originally, the situation of Sand Village was somewhat passive, but Rock Village gave Konoha a big gift, so don't blame Chio for jumping out and taking advantage. Without the garrison of elite troops, Konoha's offensive will definitely shrink and retreat. As Chio expected, Konoha's offensive did slow down, and the garrison area was constantly moving back. The elite troops were buried in a wave, and 3 strong men almost died on the battlefield. This was no less than a blow to Konoha, and many of Nara Shikishin's arrangements were affected. In a desperate situation, you can only choose to shrink and defend. Minimize large-scale conflicts with the enemy as much as possible. Wait for the support of the village before making plans. After a deep sleep, Jingyi yawned, took the scroll from the feet of the crow puppet, patted the puppet's head and said, "Thank you for your hard work, go back." Quack. After receiving the master's praise, the crow puppet flew into the night sky, entered the rain curtain, and soon disappeared. Jingyi lit a candle, poured a glass of water and spread the scroll on the table. When he saw the content of the scroll, the water that had just entered his mouth sprayed several meters away. "It's a big deal. I don't care about my face." Jingyi couldn't understand why the third Hokage had the nerve to say that everything was for the village. He actually wanted him to contribute the puppet unconditionally. Tisk. This wave of face was a bit too much. Jingyi thought that the village would cooperate with him to make puppets, and also thought about sending a batch of parts over, and he would control these parts. The only thing he didn't expect was that he would be taken advantage of for free. Originally, I was planning to cooperate, but now it seems that it is completely unnecessary." After cursing, Jingyi threw the scroll into the brazier, completely extinguishing the idea of cooperating with the village. "Want to get something for free, right? I won't play with you anymore." Jingyi decisively put this matter behind him. He felt that he didn't need to ruin his good mood for a few shameless people. Instead of getting angry about such things, it is better to make yourself something delicious to replenish your body. As a result, just as dinner was ready, the guests came. Opening the door and smelling the fragrance in the lounge, Nara Shikiko couldn't help but raise his eyebrows. He felt that Jingyi was better at cooking than the people of the Akamichi clan. He can always come up with some tricks. "Senior, have you eaten?" "Yes." Nara Luxon paused and changed his words decisively. "No, I just happened to have a meal with you." "Jingyi, please say this with your conscience. Eating with more people can also be more lively." Jingyi doesn't mind Nara Luxon deliberately eating for free. "We are all on the same front, so it is reasonable to move around more and get closer." Nara Luxon took a few bites of bacon-stewed rice and showed a satisfied look. While eating, he suddenly said, "The village leaders rejected my request for materials and parts. Why are they so short-sighted?" Nara Luxon was embarrassed to say this. "You hope I can contribute the puppet, right?" Jingyi couldn't help but laugh. Nara Luxon nodded awkwardly. Fortunately, he was just a messenger, and he and Jingyi were in the same group, otherwise he would be embarrassed to say this. "There is no way. The village's order has come. Even if it is embarrassing, you have to finish your words." "No, none. I am just a medical ninja. Don't ask me for combat matters. Jingyi refused decisively. There is no room for negotiation. Now, let alone contributing puppets, even if the F4 group changes their minds and mobilizes a batch of materials and parts, Jingyi is not happy to cooperate in making puppets. I gave you a chance, but you don't cherish it. Since you don't cherish it, why do you ask me? Ahem. Jingyi refused so decisively that Narashikako couldn't help coughing. Can we discuss it? No, please pass my original words back and tell the Hokage that I originally planned to cooperate with the village to make puppets together. Now I have changed my mind. There is no puppet, and cooperation is even more impossible. This matter has completely blocked the road. Narashikako cursed a few words in his heart. He didn't curse Jingyi, but cursed those people who wanted to get it for free. Isn't it good to cooperate well? Why do you want to get something for free just by licking someone's face? Why don't you contribute all the family's wealth? You don't even care about your face. Narashikishin didn't say anything else, but ate his meal quietly. After finishing a bowl of stewed rice, he stood up and said, "The elite troops we formed before have been destroyed. The pressure on the village is quite high. I won't disturb your rest." "Well, senior, take care." Jingyi's attitude was not very good. Of course, the bad attitude was directed at those who wanted to get something for free, not at Narashikako. Narashikako was in the same group with him, but at this time, Narashikako was talking to him on behalf of the F4 group, so Jingyi would have such an attitude. No matter how reluctant he was, Narashikako had to report it truthfully. "Orochimaru, is it necessary to hide? Senior must have discovered you." The people who came to Jingyi were not only Narashikako, but also Orochimaru, but Narashikako was there first. "It seems that my ability to hide needs to be strengthened," said by Jingyi. Orochimaru pushed open the door and walked in unhurriedly. Sitting in the position where Narashikako had just sat, Orochimaru folded his hands in front of his chest and said regretfully, "It seems that our cooperation is coming to an end. I don't want to either, but some people are too greedy and don't even want face." Quote. Jingyi continued to eat, and without raising his head, he reminded Orochimaru, "I hope my puppet will not appear in the hands of a third person." Of course, Jingyi simply and decisively rejected the third Hokage, and Orochimaru would not hand over the puppets in his hand. He still needed these puppets for research, and he didn't want to offend Jingyi for this matter. "Want a puppet? Go find Jingyi, don't find me." The cooperation that was about to start was terminated because of the greed of the F4 group. Orochimaru left quickly after expressing his attitude. The air pressure in the Hokage's office was a little scary. The third Hokage smoked in silence. Mito Kato En's face was a little ugly, and as for Udatane Kaharu, she was already furious. To be precise, the scroll sent by Narashikako had exploded after it arrived in the village. What does he mean? Doesn't he know that the village needs these puppets? As a member of the village, he should contribute the puppet. Quote. What do you mean by none? He even said that he would not cooperate with the village. What does Hyuga Shizuichi want to do? Utane Kaharu was like an angry old hen, chattering non-stop. Since becoming the representative of the village elders, Utane Kaharu hasn't been so angry for a long time. Even if she was scolded by Tsunade, the anger she brought was not as great as being rejected by Shizuichi. Although Tsunade often scolded her and didn't give her face. But in Utane Kaharu's view, Tsunade was a person of the same level as them, at the same level, and they were all members of the Hokage faction. It was normal for them to have some conflicts with each other. It can be handled slowly behind closed doors. Therefore, although Utane Kaharu was angry when Tsunade scolded her, she would not be so angry. But Shizuichi was different. Putting aside Tsunade's support, Shizuichi's identity was a bottom-level ninja for the F4 group, and he was also a bottom-level ninja who was ostracized by the family and suffered from blood degeneration. Chapter 91. The village needs the puppets you made, so you should contribute them and the secrets of the puppets to the village. Okay, Kaharu. The third Hokage, who couldn't listen anymore, interrupted her. There's no point in getting angry. If the puppets made by Shizuka are really the same as what Orochimaru said, then we must control these puppets. How do we control them? Kaharu Udatane said angrily. Tsunade will definitely not support us, and Hyuga Shizuka has chosen to refuse to hand over the puppets. If the puppets are in your hands, you can control the core secrets of these puppets, otherwise it's useless to say anything, at most you can just take the puppets and use them. Compared to using puppets, the third Hokage and others must want to master the secrets of puppets themselves. Only in this way can the village continuously make puppets by itself, instead of relying on Jingyi. As for the others, the F4 group never thought about it. Since Hyuga Jingyi can make such puppets, he must have the core secrets. As long as we get the core secrets, we can also make the same puppets. I will find a way. He exhaled heavily, and a lot of smoke filled the Hokage's office. It is definitely not possible to find Tsunade. If Jingyi directly contributes the puppets and the core secrets of the puppets, and is rejected, then we can only take other ways. For example, the Hyuga clan. That night, the third Hokage came to the Hyuga clan again because of Jingyi. The last time he came here, it was to sound the alarm for the Hyuga clan. And this time, he came here to get the puppets and the core secrets of the puppets with the help of the Hyuga clan. Other third-generation Hokages didn't dare to guarantee it, but he believed that if the people of the Hyuga main family came forward, Jingyi would obediently hand over what he wanted even if he was unwilling. After all, the fate of the branch family was in the hands of the main family. As for whether it would offend Tsunade and cause Tsunade to make a big fuss, the third-generation Hokage no longer cared. The value of the puppet was too great, so great that even if it offended Tsunade, the third-generation Hokage had to control it. No one knew what the third-generation Hokage talked about with the Hyuga clan leader, or what benefits he promised. The Hyuga clan sent a team the next day, followed by reinforcements, and rushed to the frontline camp together. And in the team sent by the Hyuga clan, there was a member of the main family. The main family came forward to put pressure on Jingyi. If Jingyi was still stubborn, then they could only use the caged bird curse seal. As for the Hyuga clan, the third-generation Hokage promised them a lot of benefits. Knowing that Jingyi controls a special puppet, even the village leaders are tempted. It would be a lie to say that the Hyuga clan is not tempted, but they are unwilling to offend the third Hokage and the entire F4 group for this. Once the F4 group joins forces to target them, the Hyuga clan will have a hard time. Just look at the Uchiha clan and you will know that the methods used on the Uchiha clan can also be used on the Hyuga clan. So the Hyuga clan leader agreed to the third Hokage's invitation for cooperation. Tsunade and Jingyi were unaware of this. Although Tsunade became the head of the Anbu, it was difficult for the Anbu to fully control everything before it was reorganized, and the third Hokage went to the Hyuga clan alone without bringing anyone, even the Anbu people. Doing so was also to prevent the Anbu ninjas from reporting to Tsunade. The third Hokage had made all preparations. When the Hyuga clan succeeded, he would offer some benefits to appease Tsunade. He believed that no matter how angry Tsunade was, she would not make too much trouble during the war. 2 days later, the reinforcements arrived at the camp. After the reinforcements arrived at the camp, the Hyuga clan team quickly left the team and headed towards the medical room. In the exclusive lounge of the medical room, Jingyi was holding a book that he had brought from Orochimaru and reading it with relish. Squeak! The door of the lounge was pushed open, and several figures stood at the door. Jingyi raised his head subconsciously. Good guy. This is coming for him. Just by looking at the other party, Jingyi knew that the other party was coming for him. A team of the family, led by the main family. The people of the main family appeared on the battlefield, definitely not for war, on the contrary, they had to hide. Since they were not here for war, the result was already obvious. Hyuga Shingshi walked into the lounge expressionlessly, and the team members of the branch family. He followed in and closed the door. It is easier to do things after closing the door. Hinata Jingyi, why don't you stand up and salute? Hinata Shingshi walked into the lounge with a haughty look, but saw Jingyi motionless, not even showing any intention of standing up, and immediately became angry. People from the branch family should take the initiative to greet people from the main family when they meet them. This is the family rule. Are you a fool? Sorry, I don't have this habit. Jingyi looked at him playfully, as if looking at a fool. You are a member of the branch family, how dare you look at me with such eyes? Hinata Shingshi was a little confused. When he came to his senses, his pale face turned blue and purple with anger. This kid must be taught a lesson. Hinata Shingshi, who was used to being high and mighty, met such a rude and bold member of the branch family for the first time, which made him feel embarrassed. So he decided to give Jingyi a little pain first, and then complete the task assigned by the clan leader after Jingyi behaved himself. The main family used the caged bird curse to restrain the branch family, and the people in the main family knew how to use the caged bird curse to control the people in the branch family. Kneel down. When Hyuga Xingxi wanted to activate the caged bird curse to give Jingyi a little pain, he suddenly heard the word kneel down. He felt his body stiffened just after he raised his hand. The same was true for the people in the branch family team. The invisible pressure enveloped the entire lounge, as if a big hand was pinching them tightly. Hyuga Xingxi and others felt that their bodies could not move, and their eyes were wide open, as if they had seen some terrible monster. Plop! As the pressure increased, Hyuga Xingxi and the guards of the team all knelt on the ground. The slender fingers covered Hyuga Xingxi's neck, and Hyuga Xingxi was lifted up by the neck. Pinching the other person's neck and lifting him up high, Jingyi said with a half smile. Sure enough, the people of the Zong family are used to being lazy. A waste like you can only live a stable life under the skin of the Zong family. The two of them were so angry that they had to fight. You, what do you want to do? You'd better let me go, otherwise, Hyuga Xingxi wanted to struggle, but unfortunately his body didn't obey. Jingyi used force on his fingers and interrupted the opponent's spell with physical attack. Waste. The word, waste, exploded in Hyuga Xingxi's mind like thunder. Hyuga Xingxi's white pupils shrank violently several times, and the whole person was hanging in Jingyi's hand like a puppet. Jingyi, let Xingxi go, let him go quickly. The several branch family members who were responsible for protecting Hyuga Xingxi never dreamed that things would turn out like this. They didn't know what Jingyi had done to make them feel like they were encountering a flood and a beast, and they were so scared that their bodies couldn't obey their commands. What was even more terrible was that Jingyi pinched Hyuga Xingxi's neck, as if he wanted to strangle him to death. People from the branch family wanted to strangle people from the main family. Is this possible? In the past, they would definitely think that they were joking, but now they couldn't laugh. Could it be that Hyuga Xingxi didn't even know the spell of the bird in the cage? Ignoring these people from the branch family, Jingyi put Hyuga Xingxi down casually, and the other party knelt on the ground again. When Hyuga Xingxi knelt down, Jingyi's hand directly pressed on his head, and a blue spirit ball sank into Hyuga Xingxi's body through his palm. Who asked you to come? It was the clan leader. Hyuga Xingxi was like a puppet being pulled by strings, answering Jingyi's questions stupidly. The clan leader, Hinata Xingxi, spoke very slowly, and his speech was intermittent. Jingyi frowned when he heard it. Forget it, I'll see for myself. It might be a little painful. Please bear with me. The blue light enveloped Hinata Xingxi, and Hinata Xingxi began to twitch. Jingyi closed his eyes, and scenes flashed through his mind. The clan leader summoned him and issued a special top-secret mission. The mission content was to force Hinata Jingyi to hand over the puppet and the core secrets of making the puppet. After getting these things, he would teach him a lesson and copy the core secrets of the puppet. The scene flashed quickly, and came to the other party entering the camp, and then quietly approached the medical room. In other words, these guys were sneaky and did not attract the attention of others. Maybe I should collect some interest first. Thinking of the treatment he had suffered in the family in the past, Jingyi suddenly smiled, slowly raised his right hand, and placed it on Hinata Xingxi's head again, and pressed the other party's head with his slender fingers. Bending down, he whispered in Hyuga Saishi's ear, remember to be more restrained in your next life. Puff! Blue chakra sank into Hyuga Saishi's brain. Hyuga Saishi, whose brain was violently impacted, groaned and fell softly to the ground. It's your turn. Jing turned around and looked at the guards of the branch family with cold eyes. Although he hated the people of the Hyuga clan, at least he didn't think of actively looking for trouble. Who would have thought that the old man Hyuga Tenin would start to collude with the third Hokage and actively look for trouble with him? Not only did he look for trouble, but he also wanted to teach himself a little lesson and leave a deep memory. Well, I can only do it reluctantly and leave a deep memory for you. The death of a member of the main family should hurt the old guy Hyuga Tenin. Hetui, he doesn't have the courage that a strong man should have, and he has the nerve to call himself Hyuga Tenin. He doesn't even care about his face. If the successive generations of Hyuga Tenin knew that you were such a coward, the coffin lid would definitely not be able to hold down. Kill people and collect corpses. Jingyi had no intention of destroying the corpse, but just threw the corpse into the sealing scroll, then cleaned up the traces of the arrival of these people, and then continued to sit on the chair with his legs crossed and read leisurely. It was as if the family members had never appeared. At the command center, after arranging the reinforcements, Nara Shikako suddenly remembered that there seemed to be a team of Hyuga clan in the reinforcements, and this team disappeared after entering the camp. He was busy at the time and didn't care about these things. Now that things were handled, he remembered this. Nara Shikako was worried about something happening, so he hurried to the medical room. However, Jingyi was reading a book with his legs crossed as if nothing had happened. "Senior, are you looking for me?" Jingyi put down the book, stood up and stretched. "Isn't it for Jingyi?" Nara Shikako was a little confused and asked tentatively, "Jingyi, someone came to see you just now." "You?" Jingyi pretended to be confused. "Does the little nurse in the medical room count?" "The pretty one. Quote. She's so pretty, I'm worried that you'll get in trouble." Nara Shikishin raised his right hand and stroked his thumb in front of his lips. "Don't stare at the medical staff if you have nothing to do. Be careful that Tsunade-ji will get you in trouble." "Understood." Jingyi smiled and nodded. "Then you should have a good rest, there are still many things waiting for me to deal with at the command center." Quote. Back at the headquarters, Nara Shikako patted his forehead. "What the hell is this?" The third Hokage messed around, and Shizuka followed suit. Nara Shikako was caught in the middle and was neither a human nor a human. "Forget it, I have never seen anyone from the Hyuga clan. Since I have never seen them, why bother to care whether they are missing or gone? The headquarters has enough things to do, and I don't have the energy to worry about these things." "Don't ask, I don't know if you ask." So this matter was kept secret. Shizuka and Nara Shikako were like nothing happened, doing what they had to do. In this way, a few days passed in a flash. The people sent out did not respond at all, and the third Hokage was a little impatient, and immediately asked the intelligence department to contact Nara Shikako. When the news was sent to the camp, Nara Shikishin was numb. "I knew it would be like this." Unfortunately, Nara Shikishin had no chance to get off Tsunade's pirate ship, so he could only bite the bullet and go to the end. The third Hokage was still very cunning, and went to Nara Shikishin under the banner of caring about the Hyuga clan. Nara Shikishin could only report truthfully. "What Hyuga clan? Never seen it. No matter who asked me, I would say this, never seen it." So when the news was sent back to Konoha and handed over to the third Hokage was dumbfounded. Never seen it. He felt that the matter seemed a bit serious. If only a few people from the branch family disappeared, the Hyuga clan would not say anything, but the people from the main family were gone. "Investigate. We must investigate thoroughly." Quote. "Other people can disappear or die, but not the Hyuga clan, not to mention that they went to the frontline camp with a shameful mission. Now that the person is gone, and we don't know whether he is dead or alive, the third Hokage must give an explanation to the Hyuga clan. If he is alive, we must see the person, and if he is dead, we must see the body." The third Hokage subconsciously sent the Anbu people to the camp to investigate the matter, but he forgot that the Anbu now is no longer the Anbu of the past. The two sides have been in a state of chaos. Even though Tsunade has not been in charge of the Anbu for long. Even though it is not appropriate to reorganize the Anbu during the war, Tsunade's promotion to the position of Anbu minister has added some regulations. For example, the Anbu needs to report to her as the minister when performing important tasks, even if the tasks come from the Hokage's office. So the Anbu people came to Tsunade in a circle. After understanding the cause of the task, Tsunade said decisively, "Refuse to perform this task. During the war, every team of the Anbu has an important task. The people of the Hyuga clan are missing, so let them check it themselves." The Hokage asked them to go out immediately and perform the task. The minister told them to refuse the mission and let the Hyuga clan investigate on their own. The Anbu team, which was ready to set off, became confused for a while. They didn't know who to listen to. "I am the minister of the Anbu. If anyone dares to disobey orders and leave the village without permission, I will kick him out of the Anbu." Tsunade slammed the table hard, scaring the Anbu people so much that their hearts were beating. Konoha's ninjas are proud to work in the Anbu. If they are kicked out without knowing why, it will definitely be a very embarrassing thing. So, the investigation mission was left unfinished. The third-generation Hokage thought that the Anbu team had been dispatched, but the Anbu team did not dare to move because of Tsunade's order, so they could only remain in a stalemate. By the time the third-generation Hokage reacted, 10 days and a half months had passed. If the head of the Hyuga clan had not come to the Hokage's office, the third-generation Hokage would still be in the dark. The Anbu people did not take action. When he heard the news, the third Hokage almost choked. In the Hokage's office, the third Hokage's beard was shaking with anger. The Hyuga clan leader beside him looked very unhappy. For the third Hokage's matter, the clan sent a member of the main family and a branch family guard to the border camp, but there was no news after that. The branch family's guard was gone, but the key point was that the main family's people were gone too. The most annoying thing was that there was no movement in the Hokage's office. What's the matter? My Hyuga clan worked for you, the third Hokage, and even sent the main family's people. Now there is no news. I don't know if they are missing or dead. As a result, your Hokage's office didn't say anything. Is this reasonable? You disobeyed orders. The third Hokage was almost furious. He felt that his old face was directly lost. If he knew the news privately, he would not be so angry. The key point is that the Hyuga clan leader is also here. He also vowed that he had sent the Anbu to investigate. As a result, when the Anbu people were called over and asked, they found out that the Anbu had not been dispatched at all. His old face was swollen. The old face of the third Hokage was burning, and the ninjas of the Anbu were also aggrieved. They looked up at the expressionless Hyuga clan leader and whispered, "Hokage, the Anbu naturally dare not disobey orders, but the minister said that the people of the Hyuga clan are missing, so let them investigate by themselves, and said that whoever dares to carry out this task will be kicked out of the Anbu. It's not that we disobey orders, but that we dare not." On one side is the Hokage, and on the other side is the minister. We are caught in the middle and it's so uncomfortable. Hyuga clan leader. The third Hokage. It turned out that it was not the Anbu who disobeyed orders, but Tsunade did not allow the Anbu to carry out this task. Whoever dared not to obey would be kicked out of the Anbu. The words are here, who the hell dares to carry out the mission? Because Jingyi was once treated coldly by the family, Tsunade really didn't have a good impression of the Hyuga clan, and the original words were also quite harsh. This is just nonsense. The third-generation Hokage slammed the table angrily. I am the Hokage. Of course you are the Hokage, but we have a minister above the Anbu now, what can we do? If you are unhappy, go to the minister, but don't get angry at us. It's uncomfortable enough to be caught in the middle, and you have to be a punching bag. No one is happy. The people in the Anbu lowered their heads and didn't speak. He made up his mind to be a transparent person to avoid being angry for no reason. Besides, the minister was not wrong. If the people of the Hyuga clan were missing, let them investigate by themselves. Why mobilize the Anbu? During the war, the Anbu's tasks were already busy. Seeing that the other party chose to remain silent, the third-generation Hokage. He was so angry that he couldn't speak. He finally understood. The Anbu is no longer the Anbu of the past. Tsunade, the head of the department, is stuck above it. All tasks need to go through Tsunade. Once Tsunade is stuck, the Anbu people can't go out at will. This is so uncomfortable. The Hokage's direct troops cannot be mobilized by the Hokage himself. It happened that all this was caused by him. When he thought about making the Anbu like this in order to compensate Udatain Kaharu, the third Hokage regretted it. If he had been more ruthless before and suppressed the noisy Udatain Kaharu, he wouldn't have come to this point today. At this time, the third Hokage was stuck, and he was stuck. Forget it, you leave first. The third Hokage waved his hand, and the ninjas of the Anbu quickly evacuated. He didn't want to stay here for a second longer. It was too uncomfortable. After the Anbu people left, the Hyuga clan leader spoke. Hokage, you need to give an explanation to the family for this matter. Something happened to the main family, which has a great impact on the family. The Hyuga clan leader would not feel sorry for the death of a small team of the branch family, even if a group of people died, but it was different for the main family. There were only so many people in the main family, and the death of one of them would be painful. The most important thing was that the Byakugan was lost. Once the Byakugan was lost, the Hyuga clan leader thought of this consequence and was numb. So the third Hokage had to give him an explanation. After all, the Hyuga clan was helping him. I will give you an explanation, please give me some time. At this time, we have to find a way to appease the Hyuga clan leader. The Anbu is unreliable, so we can only mobilize other forces to investigate. In fact, the best way to deal with this matter is to directly order Nara Shikako to seal off the camp for investigation. But some things cannot be seen in the light, so they can only be investigated in secret. When the Anbu was unreliable, the third Hokage chose to use the power of the family. Mobilizing the family's ninjas to perform tasks requires taking certain risks and some troubles. The ninjas of the Anbu only care about whether the task can be completed, and don't care about the rest. This is something that the family ninjas can't compare with. Secondly, when the Anbu people go out to perform tasks, the people in the village need to cooperate. Because this is the unique right of the Anbu. The Anbu has such a right, but the ninjas of the Sarutobi clan do not, so they can only think of other ways. Thinking of the difference, the third Hokage regretted it even more. The 3-year mission was a big success. Why did he hand over the Anbu for no reason? Now it's impossible for him to take it back. The key is that even if he wants to, Tsunade will not let go. In the end, when the Anbu cannot be dispatched, the third Hokage can only mobilize several ninja teams of the family to carry out this mission. 2 days later, 3 teams composed of ninjas from the Sarutobi clan came to the Rain Country camp and found the camp commander Nara Shikishin. Shikishin, this is what the Hokage asked me to give you. As the leader, Sarutobi Tsurugi handed the scroll he brought to Nara Shikishin. If they want to investigate and carry out tasks in the camp, they need to get Nara Shikishin's permission. Nara Shikishin opened the scroll and took a look, then asked in confusion, shouldn't such a mission be carried out by the Anbu? Since the disappearance of the Hyuga clan, Nara Shikishin has been prepared for the Anbu to come and investigate. His idea is very simple, that is, I don't know. No matter who asks me, I don't know. You can investigate however you want, just don't ask me. In addition, Tsunade has become the head of the Anbu, and I think the Anbu will not dare to embarrass Jingyi. As a result, after waiting for so long, the Anbu people did not wait, but the people of the Sarutobi clan came with the order of the third Hokage. We don't know much about this either. Sarutobi answered truthfully. As the Hokage of the village, he was unable to mobilize the Anbu to carry out the mission. This kind of shameful thing, the third Hokage will not tell it to others, and the Hyuga clan leader will not tell it either. Because if it is spread out, it is equivalent to offending the third Hokage to death, and then the Hyuga clan will just wait to be targeted. Could it be that Tsunade-sama has exerted her strength? Nara Shikishin pondered for a moment and put the scroll away. Since you are here with the order of the Hokage, I will cooperate with you as much as possible. Nara Shikishin chose to cooperate, and Sarutobi Takahashi breathed a sigh of relief. He was most afraid that Nara Shikishin would play Tai Chi. If he did not support or oppose, they would not be able to let go of their hands and feet in the camp. Thank you for your support, Lord Shikishin. It should be. Nara Shikishin smiled and nodded. I just said that I would cooperate with you. As for the extent of cooperation, it is not up to me to decide. Sarutobi Takahashi could not investigate openly because this was the request of the Hokage. Fortunately, with the cooperation of Nara Shikishin, the investigation progressed quickly. Some ninjas who had impressions of the missing persons were interrogated secretly, and they signed confidentiality agreements after the interrogation. Soon, the information was sorted out, and all the information pointed to the direction of the medical room. Someone had seen that the Hyuga clan went directly to the medical room after arriving at the camp. As for whether they really went to the medical room, the other party was not sure. Very good. All the information pointed to the medical room, and the next investigation was much simpler. Just bring the suspects here for interrogation. Sarutobi Takashi was not a member of the Anbu, and he did not have the right to arrest people for interrogation directly. He could only ask Nara Shikishin for help. After hearing the other party's request, Nara Shikishin said in surprise. You mean, the Hyuga clan is missing, and Hyuga Shizuka is the biggest suspect? Yes. Sarutobi Takashi nodded heavily. Lord Shikishin, all the intelligence clues point to him. It seems that the Hyuga clan is coming for him, so I suspect that the missing person has a lot to do with him. Please also ask Lord Shikishin to catch him to cooperate with the investigation. What? Nara Shikishin stood up in surprise. Quote question mark question mark question mark quote. Sarutobi Takashi's face was full of question marks. No, why are you so surprised? If you have identified a suspect, you must arrest him for questioning. Whether it was Hyuga Shizuka who did it, we will know after questioning. What did you just say? Nara Shikiko asked. Sarutobi Takashi was confused. I suspect that the missing person has a lot to do with Hyuga Shizuka. Not this sentence, the next one. I would like to ask Lord Shikiko to arrest him for our investigation. Yes, that's it. Nara Shikiko clenched his right fist and patted the palm of his left hand. Now I understand. Since he understood, it would be easy. Sarutobi Takashi felt that this mission would be over soon. If he didn't have the right to arrest people directly, why would he need to come to Nara Shikiko? If it were the Anbu, they would arrest people immediately, no matter who you are. Sorry, I can't do it. Nara Shikiko shook his head regretfully. Sarutobi Tsurugi. No, what do you mean? As the commander of the camp, you are the boss of the camp. I want to arrest someone to cooperate with the investigation, but you tell me that you can't do it. It's okay for others, but not for Hyuga Shizuka. Nara Shikiko was very embarrassed. Why? Sarutobi Tsurugi didn't understand. Because the command center and the medical room are two systems. The combat is under my control, and everything in the medical room is under Hyuga Shizuka. Even if I have more power than him, I can't order him, let alone arrest him for investigation. Nara Shikiko felt more and more uncomfortable. At that time, I advised the Hokage that this arrangement could not be made, but the Hokage didn't listen to me. Tell me, is this reasonable? Is it reasonable? Quote. What the hell is reasonable? Sarutobi Tsurugi was numb. He came to carry out the mission with the order of the third Hokage. When he saw that the progress of the mission was almost completed, he suddenly found that he was being held back. The person who held him back was the same person who issued the mission. After a moment of silence, he asked helplessly. So, without the latest order from the Hokage, we can't catch anyone. You are unlucky to be sent to carry out this mission. Nara Shikiko looked at him sympathetically and added. Not only that, you also need the order of Princess Tsunade, because the person was arranged by Princess Tsunade to represent the village medical system. By the way, there is now an additional Anbu. Ga. Sarutobi Tsurugi put on the mask of pain directly. He finally knew why the Anbu was not dispatched for this special mission. This was not an investigation mission at all. It was clearly a mine. Senior, help me. Sarutobi Tsurugi was a little anxious. He didn't want to go back to the village and report back with the blame for not being able to complete the mission. I dare not help you, I'm afraid Tsunade will beat me. Nara Shikiko smiled awkwardly and didn't respond. Anyway, I have said everything I should say. As for how to do it, that's your own business. Don't drag me into it. Sarutobi Tsukuru saw that Nara Shikiko didn't want to get involved in this matter at all. At this moment, Sarutobi Tsukuru also felt the taste of being caught in the middle and being neither a human nor a human. Then I can go directly to the other party to ask and investigate, right? If you can't arrest someone, then take the polite way and go directly to the other party. Everyone sits down and talks politely. It should, probably, okay, right. Nara Shikiko said uncertainly. After all, the medical room is not under my control, and there are a large number of wounded in the medical room. Ordinary people are not allowed to approach, and I am also very embarrassed. It should probably bullshit. Sarutobi Tsukuru understood that Nara Shikiko was just shirking responsibility. Walking out of the command center, Sarutobi Takashi rubbed his face hard in the heavy rain, and his dark face was directly rubbed red. How did he get involved in such a crackdown? I thought it was a good job, but it turned out to be a pit, sandwiched between a group of big guys, neither inside nor outside. Who? Standing in the heavy rain and letting out a heavy breath, Sarutobi Takashi tried to calm himself down and keep his brain clear. After standing in the rain for a long time, Sarutobi Takashi went to the medical room alone. He planned to meet Jing in private and have a good talk. A guest is here. Orochimaru had a faint smile on his face, glanced at the wet Sarutobi Tsurugi, and recalled carefully. I remember you were the one responsible for guarding the old man's house. I didn't expect the old man would throw you to the front line. Quote. Sarutobi Tsurugi was very embarrassed. He didn't expect Jingyi to see him directly after receiving the notification. The most uncomfortable thing was that Orochimaru was there. Although the cooperation was terminated, when there was no mission, Orochimaru still liked to run to Jingyi. Senior, what do you want to see me for? Jingyi looked at the list in his hand and didn't mean to invite the other party to sit down. The answer to why Sarutobi Tsurugi came was obvious. They were not on the same page, so why were they polite? Not to mention that Orochimaru also pointed out the other party's identity. The person in charge of the security of the Sarutobi clan is the private power of the family. The third Hokage is really interesting. He sent his family members here without the Anbu, but they came to him privately. It seems that the other party has experienced the feeling of being caught in the middle. Sarutobi Takashi sighed in his heart and vowed never to take such a crappy task again. A team of the Hyuga clan disappeared in the camp, and there is a member of the Hyuga clan. The Hokage needs to give an explanation to the Hyuga clan, so he ordered me to investigate this matter. Not bad. Jingyi raised his eyebrows. This Sarutobi Takashi directly confessed his purpose, and it seems that he hopes that he will not embarrass him too much. People of the Hyuga clan disappeared, and there are also people from the clan. Orochimaru felt that he had discovered something interesting. The old man could send people to the camp, which means that this matter is related to Jingyi. Is there such a thing? Jingyi said in surprise. There are many people from the branch families in the camp. I think the senior can ask these people to see if he can get some valuable information from them. Looking at Jingyi deeply, Sarutobi Shu said, sorry to bother you. Sarutobi Shu retreated decisively, and Orochimaru said with a smile. He is a smart man. I think he will leave the camp soon and return to the village to report. He is indeed a smart man. Jingyi nodded and admitted that what Orochimaru said made sense. Since it is difficult to do it on both sides and there are checks and balances everywhere, why should I investigate? Isn't Nara Shikako pretending to be stupid? I can do it too. Jingyi, it seems that the Byakugan has a very good research value. Orochimaru asked tentatively. People are missing, or they are missing in the camp, so there is no doubt that it is Jingyi's hand. He must have a pair of Byakugan in his hand, or a pair of Byakugan with very high purity. This thing has great research value. In the past, Orochimaru wanted to study the Sharingan, but now he has no interest in it. He is interested in the Byakugan. Because of the various secrets of Jingyi, he is interested in the Byakugan. Unfortunately, it is much more difficult to obtain a pair of Byakugan for research than to study the Sharingan. Apart from the main family, if you want to obtain the Byakugan from the people of the branch family, you can't avoid the caged bird curse. Unless you attack a 2 or 3-year-old child, you can't get the Byakugan even if you kill him. Maybe, Jingyi replied without raising his head, and continued to look at the list of drug consumption. If there is a vacancy, you need to contact the village as soon as possible and ask the village to send a batch over. Nara Shikako is very busy, and so is Jingyi. As for Orochimaru's temptation, neither admit nor deny. If you want to study the Byakugan, then find a way somewhere else, don't come to me, it's useless to find me. Back in the resting cabin, Sarutobi Takashi said to the tribesmen, rest, we will continue the investigation tomorrow. At this time, he no longer wanted to solve the case. He just wanted to continue the investigation for a few days and then return to the village to report. Take it as an unsolved case. No one cooperates, no right to arrest people directly, and being caught in a dilemma, this kind of case can't be investigated at all. Even if you know that it was Jingyi who did it, without absolute evidence, everything is useless. Suspicion. It's useless. Sarutobi Tsurugi has already laid down, and began to think about investigating for a few days and then returning to the village directly. At most, he will be punished, which is better than wasting time in the camp. In the following days, Sarutobi Tsurugi led his tribe to investigate for a few days in a pretentious manner, and then returned to the village directly. He came to the Hokage's office and reported to the third Hokage. All the intelligence clues point to the camp medical room, but we didn't find any evidence, and we don't have the right to arrest and interrogate people. Say it one by one, don't mix anything, and add a sentence at the end. It's not that I don't have the ability to investigate, but I don't have the power. I know, you've worked hard, go back and rest first. The third Hokage didn't make things difficult for Sarutobi Tsurugi. Because what the other party said was true, this kind of case, no one can investigate it without privilege. Yes, Hokage. Without being questioned or punished, Sarutobi Takashi breathed a sigh of relief. This case was finally solved. I will never touch such a task in the future. By the way, send someone to the Hyuga clan to inform the Hyuga clan leader and ask him to come to the Hokage's office. Yes, Hokage. After leaving the Hokage office building, Sarutobi Takashi sent someone to inform the Hyuga clan leader. Soon, the Hyuga clan leader came to the Hokage's office. The third Hokage sighed and said to the Hyuga clan leader, "Tenin, accept my condolences." Quote. The Hyuga clan leader's face changed, and the muscles on his cheeks twitched a few times. Is he dead? Almost. The third Hokage was very entangled. Tsunade did not allow the Anbu to go out, and the people I sent could only investigate secretly. All the information and clues pointed to Hyuga Shizuka, but my people did not have the privilege to arrest and interrogate directly. Don't you want an explanation? I'll give you. All the clues point to Hyuga Shizuka, you go find him. It happens that he is a member of your family, you Hyuga Tenin will deal with it slowly. As long as you can bypass Tsunade and do something to Hyuga Shizuka, I have no objection, but don't look for me if something happens. There is no privilege, you Sarutobi Hiruzen are the biggest privilege in the village. The Hyuga clan leader knew very well that the third Hokage's instructions were just perfunctory, and he gave him some eye drops to let him put pressure on Tsunade. When hiring people, they promised all kinds of benefits, and when something went wrong, they started to perfunctory. The third Hokage really didn't want to perfunctory at the beginning, but the Hyuga clan leader would not think so. He would think that the third Hokage did it on purpose. Because the Hyuga clan messed up. With a belly full of anger, the Hyuga clan leader left the Hokage's office expressionlessly. The third Hokage sighed. He couldn't understand why things were getting more and more complicated. The village just wanted some puppets and to master the core secrets of the puppets. The result was not as expected, but it became more and more tense. Looking up at the window, the third Hokage asked himself in his heart, am I wrong? No, I am not wrong, everything I did was for the village. Come on, please ask the two representatives of the elders to come over. Since we can't get what we want by following the Hyuga clan's path, we can only think of other ways. In the Hyuga clan's territory, in the main courtyard, there has been a big quarrel. How could Hokage do this? This is clearly a betrayal. Since Hyuga Shizuka is the most suspected person, he should be arrested and interrogated. Hyuga Saishi is a waste. He can't even control a person from the branch family. Several elders of the main family were so angry that they cursed. They felt that Hyuga Saishi had lost the face of the main family. As a member of the main family, he mastered the caged bird curse seal, but he couldn't even control a person from the branch family, and finally played himself to death. This is simply a shame. What made them even more angry was that Shizuka, a member of the branch family, dared to resist and killed people from the main family. This showed that he didn't take them and the Hyuga clan rules seriously at all. Of course, these elders of the main family could not accept the explanation and attitude of the third Hokage, because they thought it was a betrayal. Clan leader, I suggest that Hyuga Shizuka be arrested and interrogated. The honor and dignity of the main family must not be trampled on. Yes, we must also take back the Byakugan. We must never let the Byakugan get out. Several clan elders spoke one after another, and they were particularly excited, especially Hyuga Saishi's father. If a member of the main family died, the village could give enough compensation, and they would not be so angry. But the compensation given by the third Hokage to the Hyuga clan was almost like sending away beggars. The Hyuga clan was directly furious. Okay, Okay, this is how you play it, right? Do you really think that my Hyuga clan is made of mud? Okay, I will personally deal with this matter. Although the family has suffered heavy losses, it also allows us to see some people and some things clearly. The Hyuga clan leader's eyes slowly swept across the faces of each clan elder. Clan leader, are we just going to let it go? What else? Clan leader Hyuga asked expressionlessly, can you ask Hokage for an explanation? Or do you hope that this shameful thing will spread out and embarrass the family? Can you? Faced with clan leader Hyuga's question, the elders of the main family shut up. Even Xingqi's father was no exception. Although he was sad that his son had lost him, this matter must not be spread out, otherwise the main family would lose face and might even cause a backlash from the branch family. It would be fine if it was embarrassing to the outside world, but the elders of the main family were most afraid that this matter would cause some people in the branch family to be restless. They were from the branch family, and so was Jingyi. Since Jingyi could kill the people of the main family, there was no reason why they couldn't. There were too many people who had grudges against the main family. Seeing that the elders were quiet, the Hyuga clan leader continued. Don't forget how deep the grievances and conflicts between the main family and the branch family are. Once someone starts to imitate, it will bring us endless troubles. Then how should this matter be handled? This is not okay, that is not okay, it is simply suffocating. Tomorrow, the Hyuga clan leader paused and said, I will go to the frontline camp in person to talk to Jingyi. I hope that Bayan will not be left outside. No matter what, it is the family's property, and this gap cannot be opened. Quote. Listening to the clan leader's words, the clan elders felt suffocated. Because the clan leader did not go to Jingyi to cause trouble, but I want to solve this matter peacefully and get the Byakugan back at the same time. It is unforgivable that the people of the branch family killed the people of the main family, but they dare not get angry or retaliate in a big way. This is so uncomfortable. Once Jingyi gets into trouble, Tsunade will be the first to trouble them, and even the third Hokage and his group will get involved. There are many people who want to step on the Hyuga clan, but they just haven't found the opportunity. The head of the Hyuga clan went to the frontline camp in person, which is not a trivial matter. The people of the Anbu reported the news to Tsunade and the third Hokage as soon as possible. In this regard, the third Hokage did not express anything. One after another, it is endless. Or do you really think that I have no temper? If it were before, Tsunade would definitely rush to the Hyuga clan as soon as possible, but at this time, there is no need to be so troublesome. Go and invite the elders of the Hyuga clan over, and tell them that there is a case that needs their cooperation in the investigation. The Hyuga clan has always been very disciplined and will not make trouble like the Uchiha clan, but the rules are relative, and the Anbu sealed several unsolved cases about the Hyuga clan. The source of the case is related to the contradictions and grievances between the main family and the branch family. Yes, Minister. After the order was issued, the ninjas of the Anbu took action immediately. Tsunade searched in the archives room and found the sealed files. Since you Hyuga clan can't hold it back, I will cool you down. Soon, the people of the Anbu sent the news to the Hyuga clan and told them that the elders of the family would go to the Anbu to cooperate with the investigation immediately. After that, the people of the Anbu left, but the Hyuga clan exploded. Send someone to notify the clan leader, please return to the village immediately. As soon as the clan leader left, the Anbu came to find them and asked them to cooperate with the investigation. This was definitely not a coincidence. It was targeted. Then, less than 2 hours after leaving the village, the Hyuga clan leader was called back by the family's life-threatening series of calls. He had to come back. All the elders of the Hyuga clan, whether they were branch families or main families, were taken to the Anbu. The whole family was in chaos. As the clan leader, he dared to go to the frontline camp. Minister, the people have been brought back. Oh, just send them to the interrogation room, no need to interrogate, just lock them up. Tsunade, who was reading the documents, said without raising her head. The ninjas in the Anbu didn't know what their minister was going to do, but since the minister had spoken, they just followed his orders and didn't ask questions. So, amidst all the protests and dissatisfaction, the elders of the Hyuga clan were locked in the interrogation room. After returning to the village and the family quickly and understanding the cause and course of the incident, the head of the Hyuga clan began to appease the clan members, asking them to stay put and not to cause trouble or talk nonsense. As soon as he left, Tsunade took all the elders of the family to the Anbu. This was clearly aimed at them. Not to mention that the Hyuga clan has several unsolved cases in the Anbu. Even if there are no such cases, the Anbu said that they would investigate, and the Hyuga clan would have to accept the investigation obediently. This is the privilege of the Anbu. Not to mention the Hyuga clan, even if Tsunade investigated the Sarutobi clan would have to cooperate. When it was time to get off work, Tsunade did not go home directly, but came to the tavern where she had dinner with Orochimaru and others, and asked someone to notify the Hyuga clan leader and invite him to come over. After receiving the notice, the Hyuga clan leader's somewhat uneasy heart settled down. The fact that the Anbu arrested someone and invited him to dinner right after shows that the Anbu is not going to attack the Hyuga clan. The reason why Tsunade did this is to warn them. Please sit down. In the tavern, Tsunade sat on a chair with a big horse and a golden sword, holding a bottle of wine in her hand, and casually invited the Hyuga clan leader to sit down. The Hyuga clan leader calmly tidied his clothes and sat opposite Tsunade. Bang! After the other party sat down, Tsunade put the wine bottle heavily on the table. Logically, I should call you senior, but considering the cold treatment of Jingyi by the Hyuga clan, I don't want to call you senior. Tsunade-sama, family inheritance is above everything. Bullshit. Tsunade doesn't listen to these nonsense. Family inheritance is above everything. Only people from your Hyuga clan can say such words. Although other ninja families attach importance to inheritance, they are not like the Hyuga clan, which is almost pathological. Tsunade interrupted the Hyuga clan leader rudely and said angrily, I don't care whether your family heritage is high or not. The Senju clan in the past was higher than anyone else, but what about the Senju clan? This is the first time I look for you, and I hope it will be the last time. Stay away from Jingyi, otherwise I will let your family members settle in the Anbu in turn. Some cases may be ignored by the second grandfather and the old man for the sake of the overall situation, but I am not sure about my thoughts. If you are not convinced, you can go to the old man to complain. Tsunade does not want the Hyuga clan to continue to run to Jingyi to show off their presence, because she is not sure whether Jingyi will tear off the forehead protector on his head. Killing a few Hyuga clan members is nothing, even if one of them is from the main family. But if Jingyi tears off the forehead protector on his forehead, I am afraid that the entire Hyuga clan will be in turmoil and a major earthquake will break out. Now is not the time to show off, so Tsunade chooses to strike first. It just so happened that she became the head of the Anbu, which provided her with convenience. The Anbu department has a low presence, but as long as it is used well, it is more intimidating than any other department. As long as the sealed files of the Anbu exist for one day, the Anbu can control the Hyuga clan for one day. The third Hokage does not want to tear his face with the Hyuga clan, but Tsunade does not care about these. You are so arrogant, and you still want me to be polite to you. My front teeth were knocked out. Grabbing the wine bottle on the table and taking a few sips of wine, Tsunade left with the wine bottle. She had to go back to make up lessons for Kushina. The Hyuga clan has been stirred into a mess. If it were not for the Hyuga clan leader sitting in the family to stabilize the situation, I am afraid it would have been in chaos long ago. The Hokage's office was not calm either. Kaharu Udatane kept complaining. Hiruzen, you just watched Tsunade messing around. What did she want to do? All the elders of the Hyuga clan were invited to the Anbu and were locked up in the interrogation room. How dare you ask me? If it weren't for you making a fuss, would Tsunade become the head of the Anbu to compensate you? Now the Anbu is controlled by Tsunade, let alone you, even I am afraid to do something. When the Anbu was in his hands, the third Hokage never felt this way. When the Anbu was divided, after going out and handing it over to Tsunade, the third Hokage realized that he had lost a lot of money. Don't say it, if it wasn't for compensating you, would it have come to this? Mizudomen N quietly pulled Udatane Kaharu's clothes, signaling her to shut up quickly and stop complaining. In order to prevent the old woman Udatane Kaharu from getting too excited, Mizudomen N even interrupted the conversation. Hiruzen, Kaharu's words are still somewhat reasonable. It's not good for Tsunade to bring people to the Anbu like this. After all, the Hyuga clan is not a small family. Once it gets serious, I'm afraid it will cause some trouble. The third Hokage lit a cigarette irritably and took 2 puffs. The Hyuga clan is a little greedy, and it's right to give them a beating. I believe Tsunade won't mess around. Anyway, the Hyuga clan has already offended them, so it's good to let Tsunade give them a beating. The third Hokage doesn't mind the Hyuga clan falling. As for the group of cowards of the Hyuga clan, they will only behave themselves after they have fallen. You can do whatever you want. Having said so much, the third Hokage waved his hand to the 2 of them, signaling them to leave. Stop bothering me about this matter. Udatain Koharu and Mitomen En came to the Hokage's office not to help the Hyuga clan to fight for justice, but because they were worried that they and the families behind them would become the second Hyuga clan. Both of them hoped that the third Hokage would impose some restrictions on the Anbu. The privilege of arresting people without approval is simply terrifying. I didn't think so before, but now I think about it and feel that it's a bit life-threatening. No one wants to be found by the Anbu without any reason. Even if they are not afraid, what about the families behind them? The Anbu invites you to accept the investigation, do you dare not go? Walking out of the Hokage office building, Mizuto Minyan sighed helplessly. Koharu, the previous compensation was too bad. I didn't expect it to turn out like this. Udatain Koharu was a little unconvinced. It seems that it is not your right to cut, so you are not in a hurry. Forget it, let's leave it at that. Before the war is over, Hiruzen will not restrict the Anbu. The village needs stability. Mizuto Minyan shook his head and said, although Tsunade is domineering, she is also a reasonable person. If we don't take the initiative to provoke her, she will not take the initiative to trouble us. Koharu. Stopping, Mito Monoyan turned around and stared at her. I hope you can control your temper before the war ends. Tsunade is not our enemy. What about Hinata Shizuka? Being accused of having a bad temper, Koharu Utain's face gradually became ugly. Get up. You also voted in favor of the core secrets of puppets and puppet production. So what? Mito Minyan said nonchalantly. Hiruzen is more anxious than us. If Hinata Jing, if he really doesn't want to hand over the puppet and the puppet's core secrets, I think Hiruzen will take the initiative to persuade Tsunade to continue the cooperation. Quote, if the puppet's core secrets cannot be controlled, then we can always cooperate to make the puppet, right? As I said, everything is for the village. Why not take a step back? Quote. Quote. You are so good, Mito Minyan. You usually look the most upright. I think you are the one with the darkest heart. But are you willing? What can we do if we are not willing? Mito Minyan shook his head slightly. Hinata Shizuichi is unwilling to hand over the things, Tsunade is unwilling to cooperate, can we still kill them and take the things away? Take it away. Don't be silly. Hinata Shizuka, you can covet his things, or even dig a hole to steal them, but you can't touch him, otherwise no one can bear the consequences. Keep a low profile recently to prevent Tsunade from targeting us. As for the puppet issue, let Hiruzen figure it out. After all, he is the Hokage, isn't he? Looking at Mito Kato En's receding back, Tsunade Shaochun wanted to spit at him, but after thinking carefully, it seemed that there was nothing wrong with what he said. Sarutobi Hiruzen was the Hokage. Even if he got what he wanted, the 2 of them would at most just drink some soup. It was still Sarutobi who dominated everything. Third Hokage, if that's the case, why bother standing in the front and attracting firepower? Tsunade has already taken action against the Hyuga clan. If she continues to force them, they might be targeted. So it is right to hand over the mess to the third Hokage. That night, several elders of the Hyuga clan were released, but those who left were elders from the branch families, and as for the elders from the main family, they were left as guests in the Anbu by Tsunade. Ha ha ha. Jing couldn't help laughing as she held the scroll sent by Tsunade. This is too funny. While the clan leader was away, they took the elders to the Anbu and locked them in the interrogation room, forcing the clan leader back to the village. I have to say, Tsunade's operation was really beautiful. Let me see, let me see. Jiraiya, who was lying on the side, felt itchy in his heart. He was eager to know what was written in the scroll that could make Jing smile like this. Let me see. Look, what the hell? Jing Yi slapped his hand away in anger. There are so many beds, but you have to squeeze in here. What's the matter? Is it more comfortable to lie in my lounge? He. Faced with Jingyi's question, Jiraiya scratched his head and smiled foolishly. Hitaki Tsukumo, who was sitting next to him, coughed and turned around. After lying on the bed in the medical room for a while, the two hit it off and took advantage of Jingyi entering the operating room to move the bed and stay there. In Jingyi's lounge. My senior and I are here to relieve the pressure on the beds in the medical room. Hitaki Tsukumo is shy, but Jiraiya doesn't care about it. He still smiles even when he is scolded. Don't give me that, Jing. I don't believe his nonsense. If you come over here, I will believe it, but you moved all the beds away. How can this be convincing? When Jingyi came out of the operating room and came back to rest, everyone was stunned. There were 2 more beds in the not-so-large rest room. Jiraiya and Hitaki Tsukumo were lying on one side, and they left a path for each of them. Tell me, why did you come to me? If you don't tell the truth, I'll have you move back. Jingyi has no interest in living with 2 grown men, especially Jiraiya, a show-off. Living with him is simply a sin. Okay, Jiraiya said helplessly. Those medical ladies are too enthusiastic, and my senior and I can't handle it. Quote. Hitaki Tsukumo covered his face in pain. Why did he? I believed Jiraiya's lies. It's up to you whether I believe it or not. Hitaki Tsukumo is popular. I believe that the ladies are very enthusiastic. As for you, Jiraiya, not being treated as a pervert is already a face for you. And welcome. There is no idea in my heart. Kicking the bed with his foot, Jingyi said unhappily, okay, stop talking about this. I believe that Senior Tsukumo can't stand it. As for you, Jiraiya, I think you are jealous, so you dragged Senior out with you. Don't say that I don't give you face. I don't like to squeeze with big men. You two move the beds outside. During the period of recuperation, you are allowed to eat with you. This is the bottom line, don't bargain. Interrupting Jiraiya, who raised his hand to quibble for himself, Jingyi motioned him to get up quickly and move the bed out. The rest room was not big to begin with wooden beds, tables and chairs placed. Now there are 2 more beds, and it will soon become a big bunk bed. No problem. Jiraiya jumped up from the bed and happily moved the bed outside. While moving, he said to Hitaki Tsukumo, Senior, I'm right, Shizuo will definitely not drive us back. At most, he will drive us out of the rest room. Don't talk to me, I don't know anything. Hitaki Tsukumo moved things silently. After moving the bed outside, the 2 ran back to the rest room. Hitaki Tsukumo sat on a chair and drank tea. Jiraiya took out paper and pen and began to study his book again. Shizuo sat on the bed and looked at Hitaki Tsukumo, who was worried. Since returning to the camp for treatment, Hitaki Tsukumo has been in this state. He seems to have taken the responsibility for the destruction of the elite troops. He believes that it was his own command mistakes that led to the destruction of this elite force on the battlefield. Jiraiya saw that he was unhappy, so he dragged him to Jingyi. Not to mention coming here, he even moved the bed here. What kind of operation is this? Senior. Hitaki Tsukumo raised his head and showed an unnatural smile. Jiraiya put down the pen in his hand and scratched his head. He didn't know how to enlighten Hitaki Tsukumo. When he was in the ward, he had tried many times, but the effect was not good. Jingyi organized his words and said, responsibility is something that cannot be escaped, but those sacrificed companions may not want to see the seniors get stuck in a dead end for this matter. I didn't evade my responsibility. Hitaki Tsukumo sighed. It was because he didn't choose to evade responsibility that he blamed himself so much. No, you have. The old man was so angry that he said, no, you did. Jingyi stared into his eyes. Quote. Did I evade my responsibility? Did I? Hitaki Tsukumo was stunned, and Jiraiya was a little confused. Senior, there is no war without death. From the day we became ninjas, we need to accept this reality. Jingyi raised his hand and patted Hitaki Tsukumo's shoulder. It's useless to get stuck in a rut. If you feel that you are wrong and the responsibility for the destruction of the elite troops lies on you, then you must cheer up, rest and heal your wounds. When you are well, kill all the people in the rock village. The companions have sacrificed, and we can't let the culprit live in peace, right? Yes, Jingyi, well said. Jiraiya clapped his hands vigorously and started to joke. Senior, think about it. If we die accidentally, how will we face those dead companions and teammates in the Pure Land? We didn't even help them to avenge. What a statement. Jiraiya couldn't help it and patted Jiraiya directly. If you can't talk, just shut up. I will try to cheer up. Hatake Tsukumo smiled, with a bit of confusion in his eyes. I tried hard. You can handle this kind of thing by yourself in the future. Don't involve me. Jingyi gave Jiraiya a look that said I have tried my best. Hatake Tsukumo is a person who likes to get stuck in a dead end. For such a person, persuasion can play a minimal role. Whether he can get out of it depends on him. Jiraiya has no choice, and Jiraiya is even more helpless. After lying together in the medical room for so long, he and Hatake Tsukumo quickly became closer. It was out of concern for friends that he hoped that Hatake Tsukumo could come out of it. Unfortunately, some things cannot be influenced by external forces. Once some people get stuck in a dead end, let alone persuasion, even if they get out of the dead end themselves, they may not be able to come out. Hatake Tsukumo is such a person, and so is his son Hatake Kakashi. Fortunately, Hatake Kakashi is luckier than his father. He has the company of his teammates and the care of his teacher. The funny thing is that the little yellow-haired boy couldn't get Kakashi out of the dead end despite all his efforts, but Naruto and Sasuke did it. Jingyi, did you sign a summoning contract with the Slug Sage? Jiraiya came to Jingyi and kept asking about this matter. Jingyi replied, with my relationship with Tsunade and my identity as a medical ninja, it is normal for me to sign a contract with the Slug Sage. Are you planning to abandon the toads of Myoboku Mountain and switch to the Wetbone Forest? How is that possible? Jiraiya's voice suddenly became louder. There were slight footsteps at the door, and Orochimaru appeared at the door of the lounge. Walking into the lounge, Orochimaru smiled and nodded to Hatake Tsukumo, and then sat down next to Jingyi after saying hello. Jiraiya seemed not to see Orochimaru, and said to himself, the Toad Sage of Myoboku Mountain is very good to me, and he also let me learn fairy arts. The biggest turning point for Jiraiya was that he was recognized by the Toads of Myoboku Mountain. He, who was originally the last among the three ninjas, gradually surpassed Tsunade and Orochimaru in strength, and became stronger and stronger as he grew older. Senjutsu, Orochimaru asked curiously, have you learned it? Quote. Jiraiya said frustratedly, this is a bit difficult, but I've been working hard. I just heard that the way of practicing Senjutsu in the Wetbone Forest is quite special, so I want to ask Jingyi. You can learn Senjutsu in the three holy places of Wetbone Forest, Myoboku Mountain, and Raichi Cave. Tsunade tried it in the Wetbone Forest, but she didn't have the talent. Jiraiya did have the talent, but it was average. As for Orochimaru, he didn't touch the Senjutsu in Raichi Cave at all. Because he knew very well that the practice of Senjutsu in Raichi Cave was very dangerous. It's okay. Jiraiya thought about the process of learning Senjutsu and couldn't help complaining. Sage Slug said that I have a good talent, but I personally don't like the feeling of being sticky and wet all over. Fortunately, the slugs are very powerful and can help me absorb the unstable natural energy. Is there such a good thing? Jiraiya's eyes widened. Orochimaru was also surprised. Hatake Tsukumo was confused. What are you three talking about? Immortal arts. What is natural energy? When practicing immortal arts in Myoboku Mountain, you need to apply a lot of disgusting toad oil on your body. The Raichi Cave is even more outrageous. They will directly inject you with snake venom. If you can practice successfully, it means you have talent, and if you fail, you will die. Is this a good thing? Jingyi thought of some not-so-wonderful processes, and his body shuddered subconsciously. He didn't want to experience that terrible feeling again in his life. Is it not? Jiraiya's cheeks were almost broken. Compared to applying toad oil on his body, he would rather accept slugs lying on him, even though slugs are mollusks and are wet with mucus. Jiraiya's reaction made Jingyi laugh. Since you are envious, why don't you just run to the Wetbone Forest? I can introduce you to the Slug Sage. By the way, the Slug Sage can detect whether a person has the talent to learn fairy arts. Really, Jiraiya was inexplicably moved. Even Orochimaru wanted to try it. He was really envious of the magic, but he didn't dare to try the magic of Ryachi Cave easily. The slug sage of the Wetbone Forest and the toad of Myoboku Mountain taught you to learn magic seriously and took care of you all the way, but the snake of Ryachi Cave, let alone taking care of you, just swallowed you up. Magic. You learned a shitty magic, just serve me as a snack. Of course, you wait a moment, by the way, senior, you come too. Jingyi had a sly smile in his eyes. How could he taste the terrible taste alone? It would be more interesting to drag more people into the water. Jingyi bit his finger, quickly formed a seal, and pressed his palm on the ground. Puff! A small slug appeared on the ground with a white smoke. Master Shizuichi, are you looking for me? The little slug was split from the slug sage, so his voice is as nice as the slug sage's. I want to bring a few friends to see the slug sage, please take us there. Okay, Master Shizuichi. The little slug disappeared in the rest room. Shizuichi motioned Jiraiya, Orochimaru, and Hatake Tsukumo to come over. After the three of them came over, Shizuichi put his hand on them. Accompanied by a terrifying pull, the four disappeared in the rest room. Arrived at the Wetbone Forest. Ouch! After a dizzy spell, they entered the Wetbone Forest. Before Jiraiya had time to observe his surroundings, he fell. The ground was covered with wet mucus, causing Jiraiya to fall, while Orochimaru and Hatake Tsukumo stood firmly. Seeing the huge slug sage, Orochimaru was prepared, while Hatake Tsukumo looked a little dazed. He had seen many summoning beasts, but this was the first time he had seen such a big one. Hello, Slug Sage. Jingyi raised his hand and greeted Slug Sage. Hello, little Jingyi. The Slug Sage's huge head lowered slightly, and the light around him dimmed directly, as if something had blocked the sky. It's so big, bigger than the toads in Myoboku Mountain. Jiraiya gestured subconsciously. There are many huge toads in Myoboku Mountain, but those toads are nothing compared to Slug Sage. Orochimaru also had this feeling. The snake in Ryachi Cave was just a slightly larger snake in front of Slug Sage. After greeting, Jingyi explained his purpose. Slug Sage, I would like to ask you to help them test whether they have the talent to learn fairy arts. The test process can be a little longer. Quote question mark question mark question mark question mark quote. Is there such a strange request? The honest Slug Sage thought that this was a request made by Orochimaru and others themselves. The test process is a little longer. Jiraiya and Hatake Tsukumo didn't react. Orochimaru's face changed. He felt that something bad was going to happen. The next second, the huge slug immortal lowered his head and swallowed the three people in one gulp. Jingyi had enjoyed the treatment before, and the three people followed suit, and the time was extended a lot. After all, this was the special request of the guests. As a slug immortal, it didn't know how to refuse others, so it could only meet the guests' requirements. A little longer. Ha ha ha. Watching the three people being swallowed by the slug immortal, Jingyi couldn't help laughing, holding his stomach and laughing out of breath. After a while, the slug immortal opened his mouth and spit out the three people. The three people covered with mucus slid down the ground like yo-yos, and didn't stop until they hit a big tree. Cough cough. The three people who stopped quickly got up, bent over and coughed, and a lot of mucus was sucked into their mouths. This would make people feel suffocated, and the mucus also had a special smell, which made people vomit. Ahem. Jingyi, you are so mean, ahem. It hurts so much, I won't try it again. Jiraiya almost vomited out the jaundice water. Hatake Tsukumo was not in any good condition, but Orochimaru was more patient and recovered after coughing for a while. Ha ha ha, isn't it interesting? Get lost, I won't believe you anymore. Jiraiya coughed so hard that tears came out. God, what kind of a detection method is this? The toads in Myoboku Mountain are not so excessive. Slug Sage looked at Hatake Tsukumo and said regretfully, I'm sorry, you don't have the talent to learn fairy arts. As for you, your talent is very average, I'm afraid you will learn fairy arts very slowly. Hatake Tsukumo has no talent. Jiraiya has average talent, and the process of learning fairy arts is destined to be long and difficult, and also very dangerous. As for you, the Slug Sage looked down at Orochimaru and recalled, I once smelled your scent on Tsunade, and you also have the smell of Ryachidong. Orochimaru told the truth. I signed a spiritual contract with the 10,000 snakes of Ryachidong. I see. The Slug Sage continued. You have a good talent, I think Ryuchidong's magic should be suitable for you. My talent is good. Orochimaru was stunned for a moment and asked, can I learn the magic of the Wetbone Forest? I'm sorry. The slug sage shook his head and rejected Orochimaru. The three holy places have an agreement that people who sign a contract with each other cannot go to other holy places to learn magic. If you want to learn magic, you can only go to the big white snake. As for you, you'd better learn from the toads of Myoboku Mountain. The magic of Myoboku Mountain is very suitable for you. Okay. Jirai was not disappointed. After all, he was quite satisfied with Myoboku Mountain. The toads of Myoboku Mountain treated him well. Except for liking to give him insect feasts, everything else was good. Hitaki Sakumo helplessly cleaned the mucus on his body, and 4 people came over. 3 have the talent to learn fairy arts, but he doesn't. This makes Hitaki Sakumo, who grew up with the title of genius, feel uncomfortable. Can't we make an exception? Although Man Snake has helped Orochimaru a lot, Man Snake's temperament is too stubborn. In comparison, Orochimaru wants to learn a safe and guaranteed fairy art. Compared with Ryuchidong, the fairy arts in the Wetbone Forest are safer to learn. Okay, but it's not worth it. Slug Sage shook his head and said, you and Ryuchidong are more suitable, and I don't like the aura on you. The bosses of the 3 holy places are old monsters who have lived for who knows how many years. They can easily see through a person's quality. Orochimaru has a lot of problems and big personality flaws. This is what Slug Sage doesn't like. Orochimaru's face gradually became gloomy. He could accept Slug Sage's rejection of him, but the other party's words were too straightforward. Ahem. Jingyi helped explain. Slug Sage has a straightforward personality and speaks in this way. He doesn't hide anything and will say whatever is in his mind. Yeah, Orochimaru nodded and accepted this statement. Unfortunately, the truth is more hurtful than lies in many cases. He, arrogant Orochimaru, you should go to Ryuchi Cave to learn fairy arts obediently. The snakes in Ryuchi Cave must like you because you also like to play with snakes. Jiraiya would definitely not miss a chance to laugh at Orochimaru. Slug Sage, please send us back. Jingyi made this request decisively. Because Orochimaru could no longer bear it. Under normal circumstances, facing Jiraiya's provocation and ridicule, Orochimaru would not take it seriously. But at this time, he had just been rejected twice by Slug Sage, and Slug Sage also bluntly said that he did not like Orochimaru. At this time, Orochimaru was at the critical point of breaking out. Jiraiya even jumped out to laugh at him, and it was hard for Orochimaru not to take action. Alas, as a man, you should be more cautious. Bang! Accompanied by a burst of white smoke, the 4 disappeared into the Wetbone Forest and returned to the camp. Back to the rest room, Jingyi took a moment to throw the 3 people OU. I hope everyone will support it and subscribe more.